step I take, I move my truth. Every time they tell me stop, I use. Every comment, hate that makes my fuel. Gather up my energy and boom. I hear them talking, saying the way that I move is so reckless. That is a part of my mind I've been blessed with. Giving my blood, so I am relentless.
This is a Keep Hammering Collective. I'm with Kilian Korth. Dude, it's an honor to have you here.
Honor to be here. Yeah, thanks so much for having me and the hospitality so far. Fun run this morning. Got the full Oregon experience.
Right. Well, it wasn't raining.
Okay.
Like, it wasn't pouring. It was supposed to. We were geared up for it.
Yeah.
And then it turned out to be humid and then
kind of hot.
We're taking stuff off, but we got a couple summits in on Pisgah. Got to the monument up there, and yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, fun times.
Yeah, and we are. So you're in the same seat as the king of Moab sat there, Max Joliffe, and now you are the king of the 200s this year. You won all Destination Trail 200s.
Yeah, the Triple Crown.
The Triple Crown, right? So that's Moab, Bigfoot, Tahoe.
Correct. Yep.
You're the man.
It happened this year. It's been a goal for a long time, so it still feels kind of surreal hearing it said out loud. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, it's I've lined up on all those starting lines, and they are tough.
Tough. Yeah.
And to do it all and win them all in 1 year.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I don't think I really realized how hard it was going to be till after the first race. So it's very different than trying to peak for just one race, doing the whole series, because you just don't have nearly as much time as it feels like you should in between them.
I just say I'm peaking for one race, even though I only have one race in me a year. So I just pretend like that's my peaking, and that's still hard. But what we're going to do now is we're going to have a little different start to this. So you have a film coming out, which I'm addicted to documentaries, and I love good documentaries. So I've got high hopes for yours. But tell me about this one. We're going to watch the trailer for it.
I think this will live up to high expectations. It's going to be called Forged in Failure. I'm working with my media team, LIU Creative Co. Yeah, if you're listening, follow them on Instagram. They're great people. They're also bow hunters. You guys would get along.
Nice.
Yeah, they hunt in the San Juans. But they contacted me after Bigfoot because they were there filming for Avery Collins, who came third in that race. And they were like, hey, we've been following your year. We know some of your backstory. So they already knew a little bit about my history at the 200-mile distance. And they wanted to make something telling that story. So it's called Forged in Failure. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about the past few years of trial and error at the 200-mile distance, to put it lightly. But it's focused on Moab, and that'll be the culmination of the documentary. But the story it goes all the way back to 2022. So
it's not focused on the Triple Crown. It's mostly on Moab?
Mostly Moab, because that's what we have the footage from. That's where they were filming. We'll have a little bit of footage from the other races. But yeah, Moab will be the primary focus. But I'm hoping to tell the story of getting knocked down quite a few times at the 200-mile distance, and then finally, tasting
breaking
some
through.
Success in 2025. Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. So just like the Cliff Notes version, you DNF'd or got injured on, was it 3 200s before this year?
Yeah. So 2022 was my first try at a 200-mile distance, and that was at Cocodona. I tore my hamstring and then ran 24 more miles, which I don't recommend doing.
Right.
Bad decision. But that was, my longest ever layoff from running. Probably the most physically painful experience of my whole life. Horrible.
How'd you tear it?
The Fain Ranch section.
Yeah.
So awful.
Yeah. Very muddy this year.
Yeah, really. It wasn't muddy, but I was in that kind of off trail bit as you're approaching Mingus.
Yeah.
And I was looking at my phone trying to figure out where I'm going, because I couldn't see markers and whatnot. And I ended up tripping over a ravine and just reaching my right leg way out in front of me and just cranking on it.
And tore it loose?
No, but so it hurt pretty bad right when that happened.
High or down low?
Down low. So right where it's actually where your hamstring connects to your tibia.
Okay.
Which is an unusual place to get hamstring injuries apparently, but I've had 2 there on different legs. But yeah, I ran up Mingus and then down Mingus, and coming down Mingus, I looked down at my leg at one point because it's starting to hurt, and my calf was so swollen. It looked like someone had taken like a basketball pump and just blown air into my calf. Like it looked like a cylinder. And I was like, oh, that's a bad sign.
That's not good. And you got a long way to go still there.
Long way to go. So I ended up calling my wife, who sent one of my pacers back up toward me with poles, because I didn't have poles because it's all downhill, you know, I'm planning to run. And then it took about 8 hours to do like 6 miles. And I didn't stop, you know, that was just me hobbling at like a 9 or a 10 out of 10 pain the whole time. Like I would, you know what that section's like. It wasn't muddy for me, but it's rocky, you know, and I'd catch my toe, and every time my leg like twisted, it was so bad.
It sounds miserable.
Yeah. So that was a good 12 weeks off from everything and 16 weeks off from running. And then later that year, my first race back was the DC Peaks 50 with the next aid station guys. So that's how I met them.
They're very toxic.
Yeah. So toxic.
That's why we love them.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah, me too. Jake and Mitch, they're amazing. I actually won that race. So that was cool. And then 2023 came back to Cocodona. This is turning out not to be the Cliff Notes version.
No,
but
it's fine. We've got whatever we can talk about, whatever.
Yeah, 2023 came back to Cocodona. That race was going really well. I was in the lead and basically until mile 220. I had noticed breathing problems right around halfway, but hadn't really thought much of it, because oftentimes in desert races, especially, you know, they're dusty. You just get a little bit wheezy, and it's normal. But then coming out of Sedona, I was coughing up like black tar from my lungs, basically. Like not stuff that looked healthy, you know. And then got to Fort Tuthill, which is the second to last crude aid station, in pretty bad shape. Left with my pacer.
It's like 214 or something like that. Yeah.
Left with my pacer. Was kind of running, kind of going really slow. And my breath sounded like a baby's rattle, you know, just in, out, awful. Started climbing, and then had like a moment of actual fear, like panic set in, where I couldn't really breathe much. And I just had to slow down to, you know, a crawl. I got really cold. I like had a full physical and mental breakdown is how I describe it. I mean, I was like crying in the middle of the trail, because I'm like, oh my God, I was going to win, and now I'm going to DNF. So I'm picturing like climbing Eldon and it being cold and being unable to breathe. Like I'm just having all these panic thoughts. Got to that aid station after getting passed by a bunch of people, including Mike McKnight, who, when he passed me to get into the lead, you could tell he was excited at first. And then when he saw me, that like immediately turned into, oh no, something's wrong with him. So he was nothing but a gentleman.
That's great.
Which is cool. I mean, he's
such a nice guy.
Really nice guy. So got to Walnut Canyon. My O2 saturation was 82%. So not good. No. Ended up getting a nebulizer treatment, which is like super inhaler, basically. Yeah. Took a 5 hour nap, ended up finishing, came 11th still, which, you know, could be worse.
After 5 hours?
Yeah.
Jeez.
So then I finished, and later that night, I was trying to fall asleep, and I just could not get to sleep. Like I'm taking in a breath and then coughing, taking a breath, coughing. I'm coughing up blood. And finally I get up because I'm going to spit out some more blood, and I look in the mirror and my face is super blurry. And it's not just because I wasn't wearing glasses. It's like something was really wrong. So I was like, all right, hon, I think we should probably go to the hospital. And then I got to the hospital, and the nurse took my O2 saturation, and it was 72%. Which is really, really bad. And I heard her gasp.
It's dangerously low.
So I got put on the step below a ventilator. I think it's called a BPAP machine that forces air into your lungs. I had pulmonary edema, made a pretty quick recovery from that. So all good, but not a fun experience, you know. I like got into the ICU, and you know, my feet were totally mangled. I hadn't learned how to take care of them yet. Yeah. And in the ICU, they just start ripping the tape off my feet. You know, and I was like, stop. Yeah.
Just holding together my body, like, that tape.
Please don't do that. Yeah. You know? So that was, you know, a tough experience. Ultimately, what I took away from that, though, was I can be competitive. You know, like I was in the race. Yeah. Would have finished obviously much stronger had that not happened. You know, I'm not a coulda, woulda, shoulda guy, so I won't say like I would have won or whatever. Right. But, you know,
the math says you'd have been better than 11th, and 11th is good, and you had a 5 hour break in there. Yeah. And
then finished Bigfoot later that year, had an okay race. Then 2024 rolls around, and I'm in Cocodona and the Triple Crown. And so in my head, I'm like, all right, I'm going for the win.
You do 4 200s.
Yeah. Then I DNF Cocodona with the same breathing issues. I didn't let it get as serious. So I DNF'd right around mile 150. but then I had all this mental awfulness happen because I didn't push to my limits. You know? So my brain is like, oh, well, you're just a loser. You know?
Do I have what it takes to even do this?
Exactly. And then a month later, DNF Tahoe with a hamstring strain. So that was, you know, probably the darkest moment of my life from a career perspective in terms of just like, can I do this? Is my body built for this? You know, like, am I just delusional with what I think I should be able to do?
If you're looking at the results,
it's not good.
I mean, you can believe you're the best in the world, but you got to prove it at some point.
Exactly.
And you hadn't really done that yet.
I know. And I'm someone who really believes in being honest with your goals. So I'm going into these races telling everyone that I know, like, I want to win this, you know? And to like, not only go in being like, I want to finish, but I want to win. And then having your failure writ large on a live stream and, you know, people talking about me as one of the competitors going into 2024 in Cocodona, and then just failure. So that was pretty tough mentally. And, you know, getting through that was very difficult. Ultimately a good experience.
So how did you talk to anybody, like a sports psychologist, or how did you get through it?
So I talked
that's hard.
I didn't talk to a sports psychologist, but I did, you know, my wife is extremely supportive. So she was very helpful. And then what really happened to me was I was in this negative thought cycle. You know, you suck. You have nothing. Like, look at you think you're a coach. Look at this failure. Like, who are you to think that you can coach people to be successful when you can't be successful? You know, you believe that you could be competitive at these and you've never even finished one well, really. You know what I mean? In term, not well in terms of like 11th is fine, but not well in terms of I'm competing for the win.
It's not elite.
Yeah. So there's this like stark contrast between what I think I'm capable of and what's actually happening. And what I ended up saying to myself, I was like, listen, when someone you admire DNFs, so I pictured my friend Alyssa, who's a professional with On, and she had actually DNF'd a race right before Cocodona. And
like McClellan or something?
Her name's Alyssa Clark.
Oh, yeah. No, okay. I'm thinking of somebody else. Yeah.
She's great. I mean, top 10 at UTMB. Like, very good runner.
She's a stud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I pictured her and I was like, would I say the things that I'm saying about myself about her when she DNF'd her race? Am I thinking, oh, Alyssa, you suck. You know, you're a piece of shit.
Right.
Like, no, I'm not. I would never say that to her.
Yeah.
So why am I being so unkind to myself in this situation, right? So that really helped me kind of turn around the mindset, at least. And then I was like, okay, we're going to defer the Triple Crown to 2025, and I'm going to focus on different things. I'm going to have fun, because going into those races in 2024, I had put so much self-imposed pressure on myself that I wasn't having fun.
Okay.
You know, I was getting into those races and I'm literally running tight. Like, I remember the feeling of like having my fist balled and being like, having these egotistical thoughts where like, oh, think about what this could do for my career, rather than, hey, enjoy the process. Like, we do this because we love it. And I'm not doing it because I need approval from myself or other people. You know, it's like, this is what I love to do. And so reinvigorating that inside myself. So I focused on shorter races. I ran a 100-miler and a 100K, which they're not short races, but they're shorter than 200s.
Yeah.
You know? So did a bunch of speed work, different training. I ended up winning the 100-miler, the Mogollon Monster, which is a hard race. And then I won the 100K, the Red Rock 100K in November outside of Vegas. Two great races, totally outside of my comfort zone as far as what I had been working on. And then entered 2025 feeling fitter and happier than I had at 2024. So,
and this is all just self-diagnosis and self-talk. Just change that mostly.
Yeah, the mental side of things. I mean, I've got a great physical therapist who she is a legitimate expert on the world of ultra running. So, you know, she helped me with the physical stuff. I wouldn't be successful without her, for sure. Yeah. Katie, if you're listening, thank you. But the mental stuff, it was just a lot of learning, self-reflection. I like to journal, you know, doing things that require introspection of you, and kind of, you know, you need to be your harshest critic, but you also need to learn how to be kind to yourself when you are trying hard. And failure shouldn't necessarily be this like big negative, you know, like if you have big goals, you're just going to fail sometimes. It's just the way it'll work. And so learning that, I've always been someone who needs to learn from experience, unfortunately, or fortunately, you know what I mean? But that was probably the biggest lesson. You know, failure is not the opposite of success, but it's an integral part of it. And so moving forward into 2025, I was like, all right, I'm going to train smarter, but I'm also going to focus on having fun. Like I want, going into Tahoe, for instance, I was like, I want the first 60 miles. I know what that course looks like. Those trails are amazing. I want it to be fun. And so running relaxed is going to help you use less energy, literally, physiologically, but it also just helps your mindset being like, listen, this isn't all about the result. Process over outcome has been kind of my mantra for this year.
Right. Yeah. What is it like in those races? If somebody goes off, did somebody go off hot in any of those? Like, and did you have to check yourself on, okay, I'm just going to chill, enjoy the process, let them go? Or were you in the lead on all those?
So for Tahoe, I was in the lead at a 50K and never gave it up.
Okay.
I had one other guy with me for a while. Bigfoot, Avery Collins, who's a fast guy. He went out pretty good for the first 50K. And I remember seeing him like a mile ahead at times and seeing him running up stuff and just being like, I'm not running up that,
Yeah.
And honestly, it never worried me because part of it is like, if I leave everything out there and I come second, I'm not going to be that upset about it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm a competitive person, but there's only so much you can do. Right.
Yeah.
But also logically, I was like, this is the first 30 miles of the race. I'm not going to race till I'm at mile 100.
Yeah.
Was kind of my plan. But then I ended up passing him at mile 35-ish. And he didn't look great. And we have this huge climb up Mount Margaret after that. And it's the highest point of the race. And I sort of broke my own rule. And I was like, well, if he doesn't look that good, I'm going to kind of crush this climb,
Yeah.
So I raced a little earlier than I wanted to in Bigfoot. But and then in Moab, I was running with Brody Chisholm for the first 50
you lead
miles.
the whole rest after that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I didn't see anyone ever in Bigfoot for the rest of the time. Well, in Bigfoot with 20 miles to go though, my brother got phone service. He's pacing me and he goes, oh, Brody's caught you by an hour. He's only 58 minutes behind you. And I was like, oh my God. And Brody's fast. And the last 10 miles of Bigfoot are on a road, And I was like, this can't come down to a race on the road. Like I will lose. I'm just going to get my ass handed to me. So the descent off of Pompey Peak is super sketchy.
Yeah.
And we flew down it. Like we had a couple of 950s coming down that terrifying descent. It was dawn too. So the worst possible light. Like there were a few times where I took steps that if it had been, inches to either side of these branches and down trees, I could have it could have been bad, but it all worked out. Bigfoot was the most fun I had because being caught like that injected so much energy into both of us at that point. So that was really fun. And then in Moab, I was with Brody for the first 50 miles. He was having some stomach issues, but at 50 miles, we ran an 8:58 first 50. And I told him that because I like to lap my 50s on my watch. And I looked at him, I was like, dude, we just ran an 8:58. And we were both kind of like,
Oops.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, well, the pin has been pulled out of the grenade and we're just going to hold on to it now. So then he ended up slowing down right around mile 52. The aid station was at 54 and I didn't see him after that. So I was alone for the rest of Moab too, except for Pacers.
Gotcha. That's interesting.
But I like being in the lead,
Yeah.
Like some people want to chase, but I find it motivating to, like coming into one aid station at Bigfoot, I knew that I was only about 10 minutes ahead or thereabouts. And I was like, I don't want them to see me. I don't want them to have any hope.
Right.
So there's like some fun mind games that happen with competitors at that point where it's like, I like that feeling of being a ghost up front.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's just competing, and there's tricks to competing, and you don't want your competitors to have hope for sure. So you're doing all the little things like covering up the headlamps so you don't turn around so they can't see your headlamp, or like getting out of there quick, or you know how it goes. If you know somebody's behind you, you push hard to get around the corner, and then you're like, oh. Because that was killing me, but you put on a show, so they're like, "Oh my God, how strong is that guy?" You know?
Or you run into the aid station, and you're just like, "Yeah, I'm feeling great." So that the aid station volunteers, they'll tell the next guy, like, "Oh, he looks good," and then you like get like 10 feet out, you're just like, "Oh, I'm done."
Yeah, I know. It is such there's a lot of mind games though,
for sure.
And some of them are for yourself, but it's good stuff. Well, that was a good intro into the film. So this is it Forged in Failure?
Forged in Failure, yeah.
Forged in Failure. We're going to watch the trailer for it right now. I'm pumped. Are we ready?
Yeah, I'm excited for you guys to see it.
Killian's determination. The first times I saw it was probably when he was about 3 or 4, and he was taking swim lessons. He had an opportunity to earn a 1,500 meter badge, so about a mile swim, and he refused without a pull. He was also born with this innate, like, I'm gonna do this kind of a thing.
This is my prediction. This guy right here is going to
Going into the last race of the Triple Crown, the Moab 240, I am feeling sort of overwhelmed by the journey. You know, I DNF'd Cocodona when I started it the first time. I tore my hamstring. I almost won it the next year in 2023. Finished the race, but ended up in the ICU. And then 2024, believed I was going to win the Triple Crown and Cocodona, and DNF 2 races in a row is probably the hardest year of my life.
What's the ever course record, which is 55 something? Brody and I were together for a long time. He was having a little bit of stomach trouble. And dude, I mean, we did a sub 9 first.
you run 30 miles of mud.
Dude, my first 100 was in 1928.
Rice plus drink mix. I mean, bad.
That's what you asked for.
I know.
So did you have that large gauge needle?
Okay.
Dude, I think what's messed up my feet is the mud.
I mean, he was 30 miles ahead of the next competitor.
Watching you for days.
Thanks.
Kicking ass, man.
I'm really lucky right now. Like, I just ran 9 hours to Jack, and now I'm gonna go run some amount of hours with my friend Blake, and then my brother's gonna finish it with me. Like, how cool is that? I am stomaching what I can stomach. The mud has made this, like, so challenging.
You set the new Triple Crown record, which was held for 6 years by Michael McKnight.
Yeah.
He previously had it 162 hours, 0 minutes, and 51 seconds. And you beat it by, I think, about 5.5 hours at 156, 30 minutes, 20 seconds.
That's good. I like it. Yeah, that's sick. That's so impressive. I can't wait to see the full film. So that was 2 minutes. The full film is I'm gonna say an hour.
Yeah, something probably like that. I'm trying to. I think if we get footage from Cocodona 2023 in particular, like I want that to be kind of the first big touchstone.
Yeah.
That we could get potentially around 80 minutes, just because I think there's enough there. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Supposed to come out something like Marchish, like end of Q1.
It looks great.
Thanks.
It looks great.
Yeah. Shout out to Nolan and Rachel, LIU Creative Co. They're amazing.
Yeah, I mean, some of those shots were perfect, but yeah, just capturing the one that stands out, of course, is popping the blister.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff. That's like there's just going on in these ultra races that are, you know, for most people, you know, like in regular life, you get a blister, it's like a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this sucks. I, you know, don't want to put on my shoe. That's just the name of the game in ultras.
Yeah, I mean, what's crazy is for the first 2 races, so 400 miles of racing through Tahoe and Bigfoot, no blisters. You know, I wear Creepers toe socks. They typically do the job for me.
Yeah.
But when you go through, so it was humid and wet to begin with, so my feet were wet for the entire race. But then you go through 30 plus miles of mud, and your feet, like I wear ultras and I like to wear them pretty loose typically, but my feet are, you know, sliding around with the articulation in the mud. So my toes just got mangled.
Right.
Like I typically will tape my first and my big toe and my second toe, and the tape slid down between my toes and cut the webbing in my foot. So like there were points during the race where that webbing was flapping around and it would flap under my toe. So then every step I would be pulling on this like cut piece of my webbing between my toe, and then it would leave, so it wouldn't be painful. Then it would come back. It was crazy.
What I think, or here's what I do myself is I envision like all that shit like you just explained happening, but then sometimes I'll take off my shoe and it's like that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But I had in my head that my feet are just torn to shreds and like this and that. But you can create issues in your, you know, but that was very I'm sure that was happening with yours with that tape sliding down.
Yeah.
And like you think you're mitigating a problem and then it creates another problem.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the tape and the blisters and all that shit you try, and man, nothing works sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't actually know what to do with wet feet for almost 60 hours, you know? So that will be something I need to learn for the future. But at about halfway, I just gave up trying to take care of them. And I just put on a pair of socks that I didn't take off till the end.
Yeah. Just dealt with it.
Yeah. And then at the end, I took them off and there was water pouring out of my feet, like not out of the sock, but like liquid coming out of the like near trench foot crevices in my foot. It was so gross.
Yeah, it's so hard on your feet because you figure, say 200 miles. That's generally it's about 2,000 steps a mile just in regular life. So 400,000 steps for 200 miles. That's a lot.
A lot.
When do you ever do that? When do you ever ask your body to do that other than in those events? So 200,000 steps, because people have these goals like, oh, I want to lose weight. Like maybe even first form, one of the goals is 10,000 steps a day, maybe. I don't know. Do you know what it is like for their 75 hard?
I don't know exactly, but I'm sure that's been a part of it. Yeah.
That's for most people, 10,000 steps is a legit day.
Lot, yeah.
Is a legit day. So 400,000 or 500,000, your body's going to take a beating.
Yeah. And then you add the 40 more miles. So you're talking 480,000 for Moab, probably.
And the climbing. And
yeah.
It's crazy.
So did you have it in Moab? I think it's funny. I've done the 240 and I've done Cocodona, and in my head when I was like, so I've got the Tahoe 200, the Bigfoot 200, and the Moab 240. Like the 240 doesn't sound that different from a 200, but then you get to mile 200 and you're like, oh, holy shit, I have 40 miles. More. And 40 miles at that point sounds so far. You're like, oh no.
Because sometimes, like when you're tracking those races is you're looking at their pace, and it's always like, normally, if you can get up to 4 miles an hour, you're doing pretty good late in the race.
Yeah.
But sometimes you look at that pace at the end. So if you're say from 200 to 240 and whoever's running is like 2-point-something miles an hour, it's going to take a while.
Yeah.
It's going to take
10 hours.
No, 20 hours.
Yeah, 20 hours. Yeah.
It's like in 20, that's a whole nother day.
I know. That's crazy.
But sometimes it's hard that seems so slow. And I remember like on Max's film, King of Moab, there's a section towards the end where he's just dragging his poles. You remember that?
Yeah.
Going probably not even 1 mile an hour. And when that happens, man, it seems like the race is never going to end.
Yeah. You look down at your watch, and I really try not to do this, but it happens every race regardless. And you're like timing out how much longer you have left. You're like, okay, I got 10 miles left. I'm moving at 3 miles an hour. I've got 3 hours. Okay, I can do this. And then all of a sudden you start climbing. You're like, all right, I'm moving at 2 miles an hour. I've got 5 hours. It's like, oh no, you get sucked into that. It's like, you can't let that happen.
No. And that's kind of the name of the game on those ultra races. You're always looking at your pace. You always know the distance. You always are doing math like over and over. What I do is I have these goals and I'm like at Cocodona, I go thinking to myself, I got to get in the 70s. I want to get in the 70s. That's my goal. So you're doing this math nonstop. And I didn't get in the 70s. I was just over that, or 84, I think. But the whole time it was a math problem.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, I got to push here. I got to push. How much time do I got? What time is it? And then towards the end, I'm like, okay, I got to get this marathon done in this much. But yeah, it's just nonstop.
Yeah. I try to not do the math. I'm like, I'm someone who, I don't want to look at my watch. I try not to think about the data very much.
So what do you think about?
Well, I do set like little intermediate goals. So in Moab, you have the marathon from Dry Valley to Road 46, which is basically a road marathon. It's 600 feet of climbing total or something like that.
Okay.
And my goal for that section was to run 10:30s. Okay. So I told my pacer, I was like, we're going to sit at this pace. And he just ran that pace. And then I didn't look at my watch at all. And I think we ended up with an elapsed pace of just under 11s for that section, which when you stop at an aid station, it's not too bad, right? I ran pretty much every step of it. And so I like to set the intermediate goals, but really I'm just trying to focus on the moment, or if I save music for when I'm really suffering. So I'll like try to really focus on tunes, okay, like I'm listening to music that I love, like let's focus on that. Sometimes I'll I'll try to trick myself where I'm like, oh, just focus on your arms. Your arms don't hurt that bad. Pretend that they're what's moving you forward, you know? And then you just like really focus on your arm drive.
Yeah. Well, that's not a bad, because when your form goes,
Yeah,
everything goes.
for sure.
So I think you see people who are struggling, like even in a road race, and their form has just went to shit.
Yeah.
So if that, I would think like focusing on your arms helps you have better form.
It does. And then I think, you know, keeping your feet moving pretty quickly. Like I think you can get stuck in the half walk, half jog shuffle. And that was something I attempted to avoid in all the races. I was like, I want to be able to open up my stride at the end. So in Bigfoot, for instance, I think mile 181 was like a 9:30 mile. Going downhill, but solid. Like I could still open up my stride.
Turnover, yeah.
Yeah. And
good
then
turnover.
there was a section of Moab going down, getting out of the LaSalle. There's like a really low tech, slow meandering Jeep road that's all downhill. And I ran roughly like 10-minute miles for about 6 miles straight. So that, and then that section, all I was thinking was, I am a metronome. Like this is, all I am is just click, 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 the turnover on my feet. So I was focusing on that one sensation. And some of that, those like mental skills, I think come from a background with meditation where you like focus on one, you're attempting to, you know, center your attention on one thing. And so if you only are turnover, like there's no pain there.
Yeah.
You know, so you can kind of trick your mind in those situations.
It's, have you heard Courtney describe her pain cave thing? So it's sort of like, you know, I always thought it was like, she's just in her pain cave, kind of like accepting pain, where it's really, she's hitting that chisel with a hammer.
Yeah.
And it's just rubble's kind of falling. She's not focused on pain, running, focused on work. Just hitting the, and so that seems similar
Very
to
similar.
me.
Yeah. And I think probably everyone who's managed to break through at some level, and like, you know, I wasn't feeling good running 10-minute miles, you know, but I'm managing to deal with the discomfort in a way that's productive. So I think there's probably a limited amount of ways to do that. So it's not surprising that like other people who are managing that, you know, come to similar conclusions.
And they're all sort of similar in their approach, in that you're just focused on something other than the running.
Yeah. You just you can't, and you have to both embrace the pain and decide that it's not worth your attention to some degree. Like both, it's like a weird balancing act.
Both could be true.
Yeah.
And you just have to, I don't know if you can master it, but they're tough.
So hard. I think people I don't think people know how hard they are. And like, I was talking about this with a friend of mine the other day, named Ryan Sullivan, who's a really fast 100 guy. And he was saying he kind of gets a little chafed and annoyed when people are like, oh, but you know, someone in the back is working way harder than you because they're doing it for longer. And it's like, take nothing away from the people in the back, but the front of the pack we're having different experiences. You know, like someone who is finishing Moab in 100 hours could be sleeping. You know, they might not be sleeping a ton, but when you've only slept 11 minutes and you're attempting to run down Porcupine Rim, that's a different experience than having slept even an hour. Right. You know, like it is just, you're like right on the edge of, I think, what is possible for me at that moment. I definitely was. I think anyone who's pushing that hard is going to be there. And when you're like, your pedal is down for that long, like I just picture a car like driving along held together by zip ties, you know, you're like, oh, come on, please make it.
Just make it up this hill and we can coast down.
Everything's starting to rattle.
I had a Toyota 4-wheel drive pickup like that, and I had big tires on it, and it was a 4-cylinder. I'd have to get a run at the hills to make it up and over. It reminds me of that. Like, it starts to slow down and kind of, and then you get there, then you're like, okay, now we're made it. But it's like just praying it holds together.
Totally.
And what changed from the struggle and the DNFs to all the success? I mean, did you change your training or coaching or diet? What was it breakthrough? When I'm glassing ridges for elk or mule deer, I can't afford to miss any movement. That's why for the past 2 seasons, I've been using 6-hour binos, and I absolutely love them. These optics change the game. The binos I've been using are the Zulu Image Stabilizing. That means no more shaky glass after a long hike, no more struggling to hold steady, after you've humped it up a hill. With image stabilization, you lock in and pick apart the country in a way that just isn't possible with standard glass. I found more animals and saved more time because of these binos, plain and simple. And here's the kicker. Optics companies almost never offer discounts, but SIG is giving the listeners of this podcast 10% off. Just use code CAM at checkout. So if you're serious about glassing and want the same edge I've had for the past 2 seasons, head to SigSauer.com, grab a pair of Zulu binos, and use code CAM for 10% off. Sig Sauer Zulu binos. See more, hunt harder. When you're miles from the truck and breaking down a big bull, you can't afford a knife that won't hold up. That's why I built my own signature blade with Montana Knife Company, the Keep Hammering Pack Out. It's lightweight, razor sharp, and built in the USA to handle everything from caping to quartering. This is my go-to backcountry knife. Tough, reliable, and made for hunters who push hard. Here's the deal. The last time we released a pack out, it sold out in under 24 hours. Gone. You need to be ready the second they go live at montanaknifecompany.com because they won't last. And if you can't wait until then, Montana Knife Company gives listeners of this podcast 10% off any knife right now. Just use code CAM at checkout.
So there's multiple aspects. And I wrote a piece about this on my Substack just called What Did I Change? And it's kind of everything that could have changed. So my approach to training changed, my mindset changed, and my fueling, like all of that shifted big time. So
that's a lot of changes.
Because
most people change like one thing and try this, maybe over time that's how it worked.
Totally. But I think the most important was the mindset. I don't think you can underrate how important the mental side of all of this is. So going into 2024 with the DNFs being really hard on myself and with all this self-imposed pressure about like where I need to be for my running career, like blah, 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 mostly thoughts driven by having, like paying too much attention to your ego. I think like self-centered kind of selfishness in a way, and then focusing on having fun was just a big piece. Like that sounds kind of silly, but it's like, I had to reconnect with the love of what I'm doing. And so that was a big piece of it for me, just being able to know that like Bigfoot, I pretty much had fun from start to finish. No real lows, I did have a shin issue that lingered after that race. So I was about to say no unexpected pain, but basically, I mean, I was just having fun. Like I'm running with people that I love and through places that I love, So like focusing on the joy there was a big piece of it. In terms of training, I don't think it's necessarily what people want to hear, but I did less. I was just kinder to myself from a recovery standpoint. So I've definitely been overtrained in the past, and I just really tried to pay attention to when I was getting signs that I needed to take a day. Especially in between the races. Like going into Tahoe, best training cycle of my entire life. I was mostly training in Ouray, Colorado, San Juan's, super steep. I was doing long runs with like 26 miles, 10,000 feet of climbing at like a 13-minute pace, elapsed with water stops and everything.
Yeah, that's great.
I was just crushing these long runs, and I would do the same thing the next day. So all the signs were there that I was in better shape than I'd ever been. And I think part of that came from focusing on shorter races, doing speed work, getting my just pure cardiovascular fitness to be much better than it was previously. So some training changes there.
I'm curious about this. So the cardio, why do you think that makes such a difference when really you're not pushing the pace cardio, heart rate wise?
So what I tell people that I coach is that speed work for ultras is to make your easy pace faster. So going in like in January of 2025, as opposed to January of 2024, if I just went out for a 5-mile easy road run at a heart rate of like 115, so super easy, I would have probably been in 2024. I was probably running an 8:45 to a 9:15, but then in 2025, I was running a 7:45 to an 8-minute mile.
Oh, okay.
Same heart rate.
Just much fitter.
Yeah. And so what you want is I can run forever pace. If it's a minute per mile faster, like just think about what that does for you over the course of 200 miles, right? Like that's, that's more than 3 hours of time you have saved just being fitter.
Right.
So like that, I think is a huge piece of the puzzle.
And do you think that like the fitter you are, so cardio wise, your heart wise, you're not having to, it's not working as hard. Your heart isn't, your heart rate's down. Do you think that efficiency, that pays off? I mean, you're not taxing, I don't know what you tax, and you tax everything in an ultra, but I'm wondering how the heart and being efficient, and if that helps recovery, or why that top end speed and efficiency helps in a long race, I guess.
I think mostly, I think it's everything you mentioned. I bet you recover faster. Speed work makes you literally like physiologically, muscularly more efficient in your stride.
Right.
So you're getting to be a better runner, you know, like better at the skill side of running as well. So I think all of that plays into it. And then just like, if you can make your easy pace faster, you're golden, you know, like that's a huge, you want your 200 miler to the first 100 miles to feel super mellow. But if that super mellow feeling is faster, a minute per mile faster than what you were before, you know, you're obviously at a huge advantage.
It's when you say that, so you were overtrained. What's that like? So, because everybody has, 100 miles a week, 14 miles a day. Sometimes you do speed work, it's less. You do a long run. That's how you get to 100. So like, what do you call overtrained?
So for instance, when I did Bigfoot in 2023, I finished it, but I felt tired at the beginning of that race. And what had happened to me is I got obsessed with 10 to 12 hour days. So every single week I was doing at least one 10 to 12 hour day in the mountains, which is that's just too much. You know, I was doing like 32 miles with 15,000 feet of climbing in the Sawatch or somewhere in Colorado, you know, and that you're just not recovering from in time for the next one.
Right.
So like when you're overtrained, what you'll notice is you're just plateauing. So like week by week, you're not improving. Like when I was having a lot of success in May of this year training for Tahoe, every single week I would go to Uray, and every single week my runs would feel easier and faster, even though they were getting harder. So it's just not improving. And once you reach that stage of plateauing, like the only way to get past it is to pull back.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then if you get injured, obviously you're going to be forced to pull back. So there's like a mental and a physical side to overtraining. And honestly, part of that is just learning to know yourself, you know, like I think a lot of people look at someone, you know, like Andy Glaze as an example, and they're like, that guy's running 100 miles a week. Like I should be able to do that, you know? And Andy's a freak in the best way possible. Like people aren't that durable except for him, right? He's one of a kind. And so, or you look at David Goggins, you know, someone like that. And I think you can get caught up in kind of emulating your heroes and these people you admire, or like someone like Killian Jornet, you know, like no one should be training like he does, because your zone 2 isn't doing 15 miles with 10,000 feet of climbing, right? So I was kind of caught up in that mindset too. Like I want to train like these people I admire. Exactly. And ultimately I ended up just embracing a quality over quantity mindset. And that doesn't mean I was doing low volume weeks. You know, I topped out at 24 hours of time on feet, which in the desert equated to roughly like 120 to 130 miles. And in the mountains was more like 90 to 100 miles.
Yeah.
So still big weeks.
Still a lot.
But not what I was doing.
I mean, 24 hours, you said 24 hours?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot.
A lot.
That's it. You know, I think like we get addicted to numbers, you know, and like I said, more is better. And if somebody's doing this, it's like, well, I got to do more then.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, I'm not talented, so I have to outwork. Well, that can be negative too.
Totally.
When your body says, yeah, we get what you're trying to do, but not going to happen. So when you said you pulled back, you were doing 10 to 12 hour days, once a day a week in Uray. What'd you pull back to?
I was doing more like a 7-hour day followed by a 5-hour day, a 6-hour day followed by a 3-hour day, you know? So I was still doing back-to-back long runs, and I was still doing objectively big weeks, but just not to the level that I had been previously. And another piece of it is I changed my fueling. So I used to be much more focused on like the low carb stuff than I am now. I still am probably lower carb, but I periodize my carbohydrate intake, so it's like more complicated. But now on my long runs, I'm making sure to fuel like I will on race day. So I'm taking in 90 grams of carbs, almost exclusively from gels and drink mixes. And, you know, that has made a big difference to how I'm feeling day by day and recovering too.
So does it help the training as well as the racing then?
Definitely.
Okay, so you can push harder in training, which means you're raising your ceiling, which means you're going to perform better in the race.
You're just less depleted after a long day.
And I think your body, I mean, sometimes this is probably stupid, like most things I do, but sometimes I like to go out and run with no water or fuel to be like, if I can do it under these terrible conditions and still get it done, then in the race, I should be even better because I'll have fuel and I'll have calories and I'll have hydration and everything else. But you're not being able to push as hard in the training because you don't have anything with you. And you're also depleting your body. So the next time you go out, you're not able to push on that day either.
Yeah.
So it probably doesn't make any sense.
I mean, your muscle glycogen just isn't going to recover in time if you're not replenishing it on the run. And I mean, I'll still do under 2 hour runs that are just recovery runs. I'll still do those fasted with nothing. Yeah. Because I do want to just every now and then test my body's like innate fat burning capacity because I still want it to be there. But I just want to do my long runs the way that they're going to be on race day. And you also just have to train your gut too if you want to eat 90 grams of carbs an hour. And then I'm also sympathetic to people, who I work with who are like, well, fueling is really expensive because it is, you know, like if you're feeling like David Roche, who's doing 100 to 150 grams an hour, a 6 hour run is going to cost you $60 to $80. Right.
Yeah. I never thought about that.
Not that many people can afford that, you know? So once you kind of professionalize in the sport and you're either getting stuff for free or discounts or you just have enough money to afford what you need, like you are then now at a huge advantage. You know, that's another thing I noticed this year is like, oh, okay. So like, this is why people take big leaps once they get sponsored. Is because all of a sudden they're able to afford all the things they need to train perfectly and they don't have to be like, what runs can I fuel on? What runs can't I fuel on, right?
Well, and even, I know like when I had a full-time job, it was hard to get in like the recovery part, the sauna, the cold plunge, the massage, because I get massages twice a week now, let alone the fueling and the diet, and then just sleep. I mean, I never slept because something had to give if I wanted to train and work full time. So the sleeping is, I know Olympic athletes, that's basically their training. Yeah. It's just as important as putting in the work, the recovery. Totally. So when you add all that up, that's when and so that's the challenge of, ultra right now is how many people can get sponsored or support enough to do it full time without a job. Yeah. Not a lot.
Not a lot, for sure. It's a small number. It is growing, as money comes into the sport and the sport gets more popular. But you're right. I mean, if we're talking about like my weeks, like 24 hours of time on feet, that doesn't count all the time I'm walking my dog for an hour a day. So you're adding 7 more hours. I'm at 31 hours of physical activity. That doesn't count lifting. All right, I'm at 35 hours of activity. That doesn't count sauna. I'm probably at 37, mobility, you add in everything, I'm easily at 40 hours, right? Yeah. And so
it's a full-time job.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for a long time, I was doing a full-time job that I'm not getting paid for and another full-time job, So I worked kind of a bunch of random jobs that allowed me flexibility to take off time for races and stuff. But yeah, you're to be really successful, you're basically devoting your life to this thing, not knowing whether or not it will ever be lucrative. And that's obviously not the why. That's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I love it. But it's nice
to be at your best. Yeah, you need time.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's where I want the, in some ways, and we've talked about it with different people, but I like the dirtbag style of ultra. Just kind of like we do this because we love the mountains, and I like the little races and things like that. But I also like seeing people crush it and be rewarded for all the training, all the effort, all their talent. I mean, to have talent, I want to see the ultra in the Olympics. I want to see I want to see people get what they deserve. And this is one of the hardest sports in the world because the training, getting your body to perform, I want to see it celebrated in the Olympics. Yeah. And that would bring everybody up, basically.
Man, I want to touch on that Olympic thing for a second because I've had ideas about this too, where imagine if you had all the distances, 50K through 200 miler, and you made one-time courses. So like US is hosting the Olympics and we allow them to run through Yosemite or something like that. Yeah. Like one time. You offer a one-time permit and that's the only time that course will ever be run. I think that would be incredible.
Oh, that'd be sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, so what do you mean like the 50K to 200? What do you mean?
So you just have all the distances available. So you have 50K, You've got, they're all on trail. You got 50K, 100K, 100-miler, 200-miler.
All on the same course at the same time?
No.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Different days. And I think you could even, like, we have so much available. In like most places that the Olympics are being held have enough available that you could make those courses all in different places. Like, imagine if the 50K was in Canyonlands and the 100K is in, Glacier or something like that. It would be so cool to have these one-off courses. Like, they're not going to ruin the land.
Right.
We're not giving a permit to 1 million people.
Yeah.
And just have it be like this one-time special event that will never happen again. That's my idea for ultra running in the Olympics.
Oh, I'd love it. Like, well, the chances of that happening with all those races is probably not great. But if you had to pick one distance, what do you think would be best for the
100
Olympics?
miles.
100 miles.
Yeah.
And would you be fired up to try that?
I would definitely give it a go. It would depend on what the qualifying course looked like for if I had any shot. If it's hard rock, maybe. If it's Western, no shot. So
or Javelina.
Yeah.
Those because we have 100-mile races, but so different.
Yeah.
You get hard rock. What is it?
33,000
feet of gain.
Yeah.
And what's Javelina?
6,000 maybe.
Yeah. So it's completely different races.
Yeah.
But still 100-ish miles. But it would just be, I know people would love it because they tune in, it's 10 days. The Olympic Games are 10 days.
Yeah.
They would watch this shit.
And they tune into Cocodona.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like 800,000 different people watched Cocodona last year on the live stream, which is, I always think it's funny that people watch this because it's mostly watching zombies shovel crap into their mouth while they're sitting in a chair looking like a half dead person.
It's rough. It's that's what's hard with ultra films. I mean, I love good ultra films, but it's hard to get out of aid station footage.
Yeah, we specifically were like, we're not making an aid station movie. For one thing, like my aid station stops were averaged about 2 minutes.
So fast.
They're fast. So there's not a lot of time in aid stations. And the filmmakers, Rachel and Nolan, they are also ultra runners. So they ran collectively more than 40 miles of the race with me.
Oh, great.
So we've got running footage. And then they gave my Pacers a little handheld DJI.
Yeah.
Like, we've got some footage of the awful muddy sections. One thing we don't have footage of that I wish we did is I fell like neck deep into a puddle at one point.
See, that's the key right there.
I wish we had that. But we've got a footage, like one of my Pacers took footage of me waking up from my second dirt nap, and that's pretty funny, and
look disoriented and
it's weird. I look really comfortable, and then I'm just like back because when a dirt nap works, you're just like
crazy.
You're in the dark, in the nether regions, and then you're back.
I always said it was like a Control-Alt-Delete, like back in the day when you have to do that.
Totally.
It's like, I guess I'll unplug this thing, or maybe I'll just try this first. That's what a dirt nap is.
End task.
Everything, whatever. You're just pushing all sorts of shit. But start back over. And that's what the dirt nap is. I did that one time. I think it was Bigfoot, actually. And my brother Taylor was pacing me. And I think or maybe it was Moab. But I woke up and I was just like, it felt like I'd been there forever. I was like, how long was I asleep? He's like, 1 minute.
Yeah.
He's like, let's go.
We're doing it.
Yeah. That's how that, I don't know why that works or how it works. Do you?
No, physiologically, I feel like it makes no sense. And when you tell people who haven't experienced it, they're like, there's no chance that works. But I'm like, no, 5 minutes for each of the first 2 races this year. That was enough for me to get to the end.
It's crazy.
It's very weird.
I mean, it's not sustainable.
No.
For sure. But for a couple days.
For 60 hours or less.
Yeah. But after that, who knows? Then you need the meth, I guess.
Yeah.
But what's interesting to me? Oh, first tell me about this bracelet. I've noticed that.
Oh yeah. It's this was made for me or given to me by Woodsy is the name of Nolan and Rachel's youngest kid.
Okay.
I think he's 2. And so he wanted to give this to me like the whole race. And so he ran up to me at Dry Valley and just gave me this bracelet, and I pretty much wear it every day now. It makes me so happy. He's like,
I like it.
He's such a cute little kid, and their kids are like the most polite 3 children I've ever met in my life, and so fun to be around. So yeah, it just gives me a little happiness when I look down on it.
It reminds. I mean, that's like a baby bracelet, which reminds me of James hates babies, and he was gonna You were gonna punch one, or you did, but whatever. So that's like our bonus question: would you punch a baby on a plane if it was crying full force?
Whew.
Or would you just half?
I think half body shot.
Yeah, I think if people would say where, like head or body. So okay, body shot half. Okay, that's cool.
Maybe go for the parent full force, depending on how proactive or not proactive they're being.
Why do you hate babies? By the way,
because they're always sat right behind me and crying, screaming their heads off,
and they always shit your pants.
Yeah, and
they shit your pants.
People got mad, but all I was saying is that if you're a parent with a baby, you should be with the luggage below the plane.
So James, he was trying to act like he had his first hater. It's not even really a hate.
Yeah.
But so he read this on Shit Tuckers Weekly. Is something about, what did he call you? Boss man?
Boss man.
Boss man. Anyway, this guy's telling James he doesn't know what the he's talking about, which is true. But
I mean, I'm not going to
argue.
Yeah.
So speaking of babies, you told me a cool story when you were 7. I think 7, right? Tell me about how you grew up, and it made me feel better about abusing my kids because I used to make them run the mountain we ran all the time, but that wasn't anything like what you did when you were a kid. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So when the summer I turned 8, so we started when I was 7. My family bicycled from Fort Collins, Colorado to Seattle, Washington.
And you weren't miserable, from what I understand.
I'm sure there were some miserable moments. I mean, at one point on the trip, I got a chicken bone stuck in my throat. And so I didn't eat for like a full day of bicycling. And so there's a picture of me we took at 1,500 miles, and I look like pale and like deathly because I hadn't eaten for a full day before that. My throat was so swollen, I like had to make myself vomit a bunch.
Did your parents know about this chicken bone?
Well, they tell the story. They're like, so we stopped at this restaurant, we were bicycling, and then all of a sudden Killian's asking all these questions about like, is it possible to get a chicken bone stuck in your throat? And then apparently I'm like sitting on the back of this bike coughing, and I'm starting to like spit, and my mom is all of a sudden like, oh shit, he's got a chicken bone stuck in his throat. Yeah. So I remember sitting behind a Kmart, having bought syrup of like Epicac syrup to make you vomit.
Yeah.
Because they tried a lot of things. We tried all this stuff to make me vomit, like putting fingers in my mouth, not vomiting. I tried eating a spoonful of salt, like a big spoonful of salt all at once.
This turned into a thing.
Yeah, like not vomiting. And so then we had to get drugs to make me vomit, and we're sitting behind this Kmart in the middle of nowhere. And all of a sudden I'm just projectile vomiting.
Did it come out?
It did come out, yeah. But I still felt like garbage. And it sucked too, because we ended up in, I think it's called Leavenworth, Montana that night. And it's like a German town. We love Germany. I grew up in Europe, and we were all looking forward to getting German food, like schnitzel and spätzle that night. And so then I'm sitting in the hotel, only able to like just eat a tiny bit of ice cream at a time. I couldn't even eat like, I wanted a Oreo Blizzard from Dairy Queen, and I couldn't even eat the Oreos because it hurt my throat so bad.
Oh, man.
So there were moments that were miserable. But that being said, the whole trip, you look back on it as like one of the coolest experiences, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was looking forward to turning 8 because that's like in my family when you got your first pocket knife. So like I got a Swiss Army knife, and every night I have this stick that I'm like carving, and I remember talking
this on the trip.
On the trip, yeah.
Sick.
And so I remember carving the stick into like a sharp point, and we were gonna stop for a while at this lake in Washington, Lake Chelan. It's known for having really clear water. It's a beautiful spot. So we were there for a couple days, and I remember like diving under the water trying to spear fish with my sharpened stick,
fun.
So I'm like, it was really good. And then going into Seattle, we were bicycling across these bridges on Lake Washington. And I'm on the back of a tandem with my dad, and at some point I just started talking to him, and I'm like, hey, I was really excited to get to Seattle, and now I'm feeling sad, like that this is going to be over. I think that what this might have been about has been about the journey and not the destination.
You said that.
I said that as an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm pretty sure my parents were probably like, hallelujah, like you got it. You figured it out here. And so, for an 8-year-old to be saying that and having had that experience is like pretty powerful. And then, obviously in my head, that is like a direct line to ultras. But it was funny, like talking to my mom at some point when I was getting into 200s, and she's like, what do you do? Why are you doing this? I'm like, Mom, like, think about what we did.
Yeah. It's so how far is that trip?
I think it's something like 1,600, 1,700 miles. Took 46 days.
46 days.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So cool.
I mean, what a great experience for a parent to share that with their kids. You know, I mean, because the fact that they had 46 days to take out of their life.
Totally.
I mean, what's your mom and dad do?
So they were both teachers, so they got summers off.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And is that why you grew up in Europe?
Yeah. So my dad was a teacher for the Department of Defense school system. So he taught on an American Air Force base, and that's where I went to school too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And how long, like, tell me about growing up. How long did you live
So
in Germany?
I was born in Germany, lived there for 3 years, so don't remember much of that. Moved to England, and I was there till I graduated high school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I met my wife in high school there too.
And how was it growing up over there?
It was cool. I mean, England is not, it wouldn't be the spot that I'd go back to. Like, I'd kind of joke about how, like, I live in the desert now where it's always sunny, and I've just had enough rain for my entire life, having grown up in England. And unlike Oregon or, you know, the Pacific Northwest, the beauty of the countryside didn't really make up for how terrible the weather is.
Yeah, I see.
The rain was a bummer. But no, it was really cool. I mean, for like when I was going to away swim meets in high school, we would fly to Sicily or Germany or Spain or,
that's amazing.
you know, so that's amazing. Like having had those experiences, I learned how to ski in the Dolomites, you know, in Italy. And like, as a kid, everything feels normal. You know, I'm just like, oh, this is what people do.
Right.
You know, but now looking back on it, I'm like, wow, what an awesome way to
I've
grow
never
up.
been to Europe, and I'm, you know, almost 60. So yeah, it's there's definitely some positives to that experience, and just being worldly and just different, you know, societies and seeing how people interact. Just like, it had to really enhance just your youth and how you grew
100%.
up and matured. Yeah. I mean, it's great perspective for sure.
Without a doubt. And like being on a military base and kind of military schools, they're not like that makes it sound like they're like disciplined, like military schools. This is a normal school, but what was great about it is like everyone except for the teacher's kids. So I only had one person from kindergarten who I graduated high school with, also a teacher's kid, but everyone else is only there for 2 or 3 years at a time. So like there's not really cliques. Like everyone has this inherent insecurity that like they're going to go be the new person at some point. Or for me, like my friends are all going to leave. We're all in this like churn together. And so it forces you to interact with people who are different than you. Yeah. Like the military is a diverse place regardless. And so you end up having the ability to just like agree to disagree and to interact with people who are just come from vastly different backgrounds. And I think that's a huge bonus of just having grown up in that type of environment.
Yeah, I would think. Because like, you know, in school, that's the worst thing about school is when you're not in the clique.
Yeah.
You know, when you're the outsider, but there's like everybody's recycled through basically because parents are moving in and out of different bases. So yeah, it's just like that probably is a huge positive to growing up on a military base. But yeah, and you were able to compete in sports and swimming. Did you run then?
No, I hated running until I got graduated from college basically. So I was a swimmer all the way through high school, swam in college. And then once I was done swimming, you know, it was like, I'm either going to become a fat person or I'm going to do something else. And I had done a marathon in 2017, the year before I graduated. Hadn't really trained for it. I had the classic like bonk at mile 18. Yeah. Zombie walk it in. I mean, I finished in an okay time, but I was like, I'm never doing this again. This is the stupidest thing in the world. Why does anybody do this? You know? And then when I actually trained for a marathon in 2018, I ran a road marathon in Virginia called the Blue Ridge Marathon. It's a road marathon, but it has 7,500 feet of climbing. So it's a big road marathon.
That's legit.
Yeah. And I actually trained for it, did pretty well. That's still, it was my marathon PR until last year. But
7,026 miles?
Yeah, big.
That's a lot.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, they bill it as America's hardest road marathon, which might be true.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of climbing. And I didn't really realize that at the time because I didn't have anything to compare it to, you know. But I'm like, oh, this is fun. So that was 2018 in May. In July, I ran the Leadville 50. And then even before I ran the Leadville 50, I signed up for 100 in Texas. So I had got the bug, you know. Like the addiction had fully set in. And then I went from running a marathon to running 100 miles in less than 5 months, which now that I'm a coach, I'm like, that's a really dumb progression. But it worked. You know, my first 100, it didn't go well, but I finished. I lost 7 out of 10 toenails. So that was that was an experience.
Which one was that?
It's called the Cactus Rose 100. It's in Texas. Yeah. And it was it's since been changed a little bit, but it was basically a self-supported race where you provided drop bags and then they took them to aid stations. So there's no volunteers or anything, right? And so all I fueled on and all I ate was Cliff Bars and bananas. And so then I just didn't eat anything for the last 40 miles.
Yeah, because those suck.
Terrible, dude. You ever try to chew a Cliff Bar when you're really tired and your mouth is dry?
It's the worst.
Impossible.
They're not even good. You got everything with you to
No.
drink and eat. Like, they're okay if that's all you got, but yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, Cliff Bars and bananas for 31 hours.
Ooh. And then, so you're, as you know now, or everybody knows, is your feet swell. So I guess your shoes probably are a little bit too small.
Oh yeah, I was running in Las Sportivas, so narrow already in size 10 and a half.
Yeah.
And now I run in size 12 ultras.
Ooh,
so big difference.
God.
Yeah. It was loops. It was 425-mile loops. And before the last loop, I'm like changing my socks, my cotton socks. And I take them off. And I just vividly remember how much dried blood was stuck to my sock and 3 toenails just ripped off with the dried blood.
I remember those. I used to wear cotton socks like for basketball in high school.
Yeah.
Like you just put on 2 pairs of socks, right? That's what people did. But it seemed like those white cotton socks were like sandpaper new.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what they're doing to your feet in an ultra.
Oh,
it's
so
just
bad.
like, as we know, foot maintenance is like one of the biggest challenges. Those socks definitely don't help that shit.
No, I mean, before that race, I didn't even do a Google search of like, hey, what do people eat during these races? Or how do you train for these things? Like nothing, you know, I was just like, bro, how different can running 100 miles be from running 50 miles? I remember saying that out loud. Yeah.
Well, it reminds me when True was going for the world record for pull-ups, the first one, the 8100. He was like, he had trained so much. He's like, I don't think it's going to be that hard. Like, oh, well, you were wrong.
We'll see.
Because you only did 4,000. But yeah, so we can get kind of overconfident. But yeah, that's all part of the process because you don't know until you do it.
No. And I mean, I was totally infected with the young man in his 20s who thinks he's invincible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I for sure had the I know everything, I can do anything attitude.
Yeah.
And like not approaching it with humility. And then you just like, I had experiences outside of races, just in the mountains, you know, in Alaska, I almost died in a crevasse. Like I got lost in the Colorado wilderness one time. And then after those experiences, you're like, I used to kind of think when I would like climb a peak, I'd be like, oh, I'm conquering the mountain. That's how I would phrase it to myself.
Right, yeah.
And now I'm like, no, what actually happened is I got lucky today that the mountain didn't kill me.
Yeah.
You know, like it doesn't care about you. No, like when you face the elements, you know, if you're not approaching it with humility, like you're going to die.
Yeah.
And so once you have a few experiences that could have gone really wrong that ended up not going wrong, then you either change or you're a moron, you know? And so thankfully, I don't think I went the moron route.
We are mortal, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But what happened in the crevasse?
So I did this big trip to Alaska where me and one other friend.
Coffee?
Yeah, I'll take
You want
some.
I don't know how much we got here, but I'll give you at least half.
Yeah, that's definitely good.
See if I got enough. I'll give you some more if we got. Oh, it's getting down there.
I'm good with half. Yeah. That works.
No, you're gonna have to give me your half so I have a full cup. Do you want some cream?
Sure.
I'm hiding it over here.
Thanks. Is this a black rifle?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes. AK-47 or something like that is the blend.
Nice. That's what.
good.
One of my buddies gets too.
Yeah, it's good. Okay, yeah. So tell me about that crevasse.
So in Alaska, can I go through the like kind of the whole story? Getting up to it? Because it's a pretty good story.
Yeah, I love it.
So one day in Colorado, I was going backcountry skiing, and I was going by myself, and I was going to camp with my dog, and we were just going to do really mellow stuff because I was by myself. But I met these 2 guys who were from the Air Force Academy. First time meeting them, just happened to be out there at the same time. We ski together a little bit, and then share each other's. I give him my phone number, and so the next day I get a text from one of them, Evan, and he's like, "Hey, I'm planning this trip to Alaska." So we had skied in maybe April or May. And then he's like, you know, you mentioned you were a raft guide. It's going to involve rafting. Like, you want to come? And I'm like, well, obviously the answer is yes.
Yeah.
You know, so
Adventure, yes.
yeah, we ski together a few more times, get to know each other a little bit. And so then the other guy that was going to be involved ends up having to bail. So it's just the two of us. And basically our plan A was to fly into Juneau, get a ferry up to Haines, fly into the Mount Fairweather, ski Mount Fairweather, and then hike to the Allsec Lake, raft to the Pacific, hike up to Yakutat. So
it's a good trip.
Ambitious, right? Yeah. We end up not getting a weather window to fly into Mount Fairweather, but I think that actually worked to our benefit for it being cooler because we got flown into the Grand Pacific Glacier, essentially traversed the entire Grand Pacific Glacier over the course of about 12 days. Those were like the purest 12 days of freedom that I've ever felt in my life.
Love
like
that.
We're just pulling our pack rafts as sleds, using them as couches, lounging in the most beautiful place I've ever been. We're like, oh, you want to go ski that? Yeah, let's do it. Oh, you want to go ski that? Yeah, let's do it.
That's
like,
living.
It was the best thing
Dude.
of all time.
Yeah.
Like, it is indescribable, like purity of experience.
Mm-hmm.
But then we're getting to the Allsec Lake. Well, on the glacier at one point it starts raining, and then we've realized that the tent that we had gotten from the mountain club at the Air Force Academy wasn't waterproof. So this 4-proof tent, obviously we should have tested it out, but at one point we were bailing our tent out with pots. Like we were, drowning sailors on a rowboat. Like it was absurd.
Yeah.
But so tent not waterproof. All of our stuff is wet, so everything's heavier. We're to get off the glacier, once you get below a certain elevation, it turned out to be about 3,000 feet. You end up having no more snow and it's just ice. So now you're just on crevasses. So we're roped up and going across this maze of death. So you're walking on like something that's 2 feet wide with crampons. We were carrying about 105 pounds on our back, and there's death down there and down there. And so it's like 200 feet crevasses on all sides, So we have one day of this where it takes about 16 hours, and we end up going a total straight line distance of like 0.4 of a mile. And the whole time we can see the lake we're trying to get to.
So close.
See the lake. And so like there are a few times we set up ice rappels and we drop down, and we're like, that felt like changing the level to the game because there's no way we're getting back up.
Yeah.
So we drop down, and we're like, okay. And then that night we end up just setting up our tent in a boulder field, like sleeping on rocks because you're like so tired. It just had to happen. Next day, ended up being another 16-hour day. But towards the end of the day, we're in this really confusing terrain. We're like, had the mountain on one side and then the glacier on the other, but the glacier was covered in dirt. So it's really hard to tell whether or not you were on ice or on dirt.
Yeah.
And so we had stupidly taken off our crampons because we thought we were on the mountain. Turned out we were not. I ended up sliding down towards this crevasse that then like put out into this big, huge pond, basically, in between the glacier and the mountain. And there was a huge waterfall creating a ton of noise. So my buddy ends up going over the crest of this ridge, and I like self-arrest with my ice axe. So I'm sitting there, I can't get out. I managed to put on one crampon on my foot with one hand while my ice axe is, buried in the ice.
Man.
My pack weighs 100 pounds, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, I can't get out of this, And so one thing I'm pretty proud of is I managed to, so my GPS phone was in a pocket of my bag, and I managed to put it in a pocket of my jacket so that if I did fall in and I had to ditch my pack, we'd have the SOS button, right? So I was pretty proud of how clear-headed I was. But then my friend ends up, I don't know how much time it was, because when you're in that moment, time slows, right?
Oh, yeah.
But he ends up coming back, roping me off. And then after I get roped off, I like had a moment of like kind of panic. I started shaking. I was like, holy shit. Like that was pretty close to being really, really, really bad. And then we go a little further down. We raft across the pond and then pack it up. And then 100 yards down, we find this beach at the lake where it was maybe twice as wide as this table is long, like tiny, with a 50-foot wall of ice and a 1,000-foot cliff on the other side. So we get to the beach, and we're just like hooting and hollering. We're like, we're not gonna die. We're not gonna die. So the next day, we paddle across the Allsec. His boat springs a leak, and it's on the zipper, the one place we can't repair it. So like I was testing out these icebergs so that he could hop out onto these icebergs on this lake and then blow up his boat. And then we get to the river. The river is running way faster than anticipated.
Yeah.
And we're literally moving 22 miles an hour going down the river. And it was pretty easy rafting, but if you like, what are we going to do if you flip?
Yeah.
And then at one point we passed an iceberg the size of a house that's stuck in a hole in the middle of the river, getting recirculated by the water.
That's dangerous.
Yeah. And we're just like, dude, that's death. You get sucked into that, everything's done.
That's dangerous.
Yeah, it was crazy. We ended up getting to the Pacific Ocean, but then we didn't end up hiking to the town because there was a little airstrip and my bag broke. So like the strap that connects my shoulder strap broke and we carabinered it, but the carabiner dug into my hip.
Oh yeah.
And so we're walking literally like hunched over, calorie deficit, carrying what was 100 pounds, but now I probably weighed more because it's soaking wet.
Yeah.
And, I remember sending my wife a message with the GPS phone. I was like, don't worry, we are physically safe, but spirits are broken.
That sounds nuts.
You need to get us out of here. So we ended up getting flown out of this like tiny little airstrip.
Did she get a hold of somebody to get in there?
She did. She called every single person probably that lives in the town of Yakutat. Because we were like, we're eating dinner at this lodge when we finally get there. And, you know, we're kind of talking about the trip and some guy next to us is like, oh, I talked to your wife today.
Oh, that's sketchy though, dude.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
But what an adventure.
It was amazing. I mean, I would do something like that again, but I would do it much more intelligently. Because like you said earlier, like what you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah.
And we learned a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. No, it's that sounds, like a good hunting trip, but you just weren't trying to kill something.
Yeah.
But a good adventure. I love Alaska just because it's so big and unpredictable. And but it's like when do you ever feel more alive than trying to survive the elements? And, you know, just like the little things like that, like, you know, you could get one crampon on or just barely get your GPS. He's like that. I like when there's everything matters like that. Like there's consequences. Yeah. I like life with consequences, you know, because it feels like most people go through life and whatever, you fuck up, you just do stupid shit. Does it really matter? Not really. Yeah. But it matters. Big time. I like that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, not having the crampons on was so dumb, you know? So yeah, mistakes matter. And just like, it's the purity of the experience. Like, I definitely tend to romanticize, you know, the hunter-gatherer time period of human history. I think that there'd be something about the purity of that experience that I find compelling, right? But you can have that now. And, you know, I like having days like that where I love scrambling in the mountains where if you fall, you're going to die, you know? Like, because you're running, you know, it's actually kind of hard to get into a flow state because you're not doing something where if you end up not paying attention for a second, you're going to die. But when that's the consequence, there's no effort to get there.
Right.
You're just there. And like, that is as close to, you know, the like base level evolutionary, you know, brainstem function that I think we can get to. And it is great.
It is. It's it's amazing. But listening to you describe like anything, I mean, you got great vocabulary, you've been educated. It's like, tell me about like you have a master's degree in political science and shit like that. It's like, how do you go from like the intellectual type or education or higher education type thing to ultra running?
So, when I went to school, I was 100% sure that I was going to become a politician. So,
like, what was your goal as what politician?
I wanted president? I was saying I'm going to be a senator. You know, I was humble enough to be like, I'm going to be one of 100 rather than one. You know, I'm not going to be the president, but I'm going to be a senator. You know, I'd done Model United Nations and all this debate stuff in high school, and you know, I'm like, was fairly knowledgeable about these things, and I'd always loved philosophy, and so I considered myself, you know, to be able to that didn't seem like a ridiculous goal, right? Yeah. But then I got to college, and you know, I was a complete idealist. You know, I'm like, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to change things. You know, I'm earnest. I believe things. You know, and then you just learn a little bit about how the system works, and I was like, oh, like
this can't be fixed.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not a scumbag
and a liar.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to do this, you know. And I had this really intense experience in the woods of West Virginia, camping alone, where like I was kind of depressed for the first time in my life. And I didn't know why. I'm like, what's going on?
How old were you?
21, I want to say. So I'm about 2 months from getting my master's degree at this point. And I'm like, what's happening to me? Like I'm dispositionally like a very cheerful person, but I'm in the woods, I'm alone, I'm camping. It's like my first time really backpacking, and I just kind of have this realization moment where I'm like, oh, like I don't want to do this. Like all this stuff I've been studying, it has been leading me to a career that I'm not enthusiastic about anymore.
Ooh, that's sobering.
It is, but and like there's two ways to take it, right? I could be like, oh shit, I wasted a bunch of money.
Yeah.
I wasted my time, my parents' time, my all this, blah, 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 but instead I took it really positively. Where like, at least I know this now.
Yeah.
Like what if I had dove into a career of 10 years, a decade of unhappiness and then found out, you know? That's the worst, that's a worse option. So I came home from that and was like, something needs to happen. What do I want to do? And then I was like, oh, what I want to do is have more experiences like that. Like, West Virginia is a weird place because the towns are so poor, but the land is so rich.
Yeah.
So, and I just kept going back to West Virginia over and over and over
So
again.
why West Virginia?
It was close, to
DC?
Close-ish, 2 hours,
Okay, yeah.
Virginia was close too, but there was something about West Virginia that I liked more than Virginia. It felt wilder. There's a little bit more variance to the terrain. If there's a place called Dolly Sods, which is the only place on the East Coast. They have snowshoe hares because it gets cold enough on this plateau. Like it's just a unique environment. And I really liked it, So I kind of discovered, I was like, this is what I want to do. How do I do this? How do I make a career out of this? And
you just wanted to be immersed in the wild or nature?
Yeah. I want to explore mountains, Like that's what I fell in love with.
And did you do a lot of solo trips like that, or was that one of the first?
I did a lot of solo trips like that. And so
what'd you like about that? Just
the time to think, and I've always been a writer, and I journal, and I would write poetry in the mountains and stuff. And maybe it was terrible, but I enjoyed doing it, and I would think about things, I would listen to audiobooks. I would read, that's the first time I read, Albert Camus, who's an existential philosopher, was in a tent, and I read it all in one day. It was raining out, and so I just decided to sit in my tent, and I read The Stranger in one day, And
that sounds like a perfect day.
Yeah.
And basically, kinda, doesn't it?
Yeah, and so I'm having all of these intense experiences, both on a physical side of things and intellectually, where they complemented each other so much that I kind of realized I'm like, if I was a video game character, I would want to be a warrior poet. It's kind of how I describe myself. And that's sort of jokingly, because I'm definitely not a warrior in any traditional sense, but it's like, I want these two sides.
Yeah. How did the philosophy like you said, the physical and the philosophy, how does the philosophy make you better physically?
So one, I think that I would describe myself as a physicalist, and what that means is that I think that there is no mind-body separation. Like I think your mind is just a physical process, basically. And so when you're improving one, you're ultimately improving the other. Just like I'm sure we've all eaten an unhealthy dessert or something like that, and then felt cloudy later, right? So even if you think there's a separation, they're obviously connected, right?
Right.
So nourishment for one is nourishment for the other. And I mean, I am a big fan of Stoicism. So like Marcus Aurelius, who's a Roman emperor, and Seneca, who was a slave, they were the founders of the school of Stoicism. And they couldn't have had more different experiences. One is basically a god, a mortal god thought of by his people, and the other's a slave. But they're both coming to these same conclusions about how best to live your life. Like be the rock that the wave crashes upon is a famous phrase from Marcus Aurelius. And it's like, you want to ultimately be able to deal with the challenges in daily life by kind of being level-headed about it, right? And what's the best way to train yourself to do that is to have intense physical experiences where you're forced to be level-headed or you're going to die. Like it connects to like we're talking about earlier, right?
Yeah.
And so I might not have been having that intensive experiences from the get-go, but I knew somewhere inside me that this was the path to what you might call enlightenment. I'm not claiming to be enlightened, but I'm just saying that like the striving towards that is both a physical and an intellectual goal that I think ultra running and pursuits in the outdoors ultimately are emblematic of that struggle.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, so define for me, like I've heard the term path to enlightenment and age of enlightenment. Describe that for me. What does that mean?
So there's a historical period called the Enlightenment, which is totally different from like the philosophical idea of enlightenment, and everyone's going to describe this differently. And I don't know that it's one of those things that I don't know. It's like, is it actually possible to reach enlightenment? I'm skeptical of that, but it is what I think of it as is just this ideal that you strive to. You know, you think of like the United States founding documents are focused on freedom, liberty, yada yada. When those were written, people had slaves, right? So they're not living up to those ideals at the time.
Right.
But the reason we're able to improve as a society is because we have these ideals that, although we will never reach perfection with them, that we can continuously say like, this is what we're shooting for, right? And so enlightenment is kind of like that on a personal level, where it ultimately means that I just want to be able to, when, you know, I'm in an argument with my wife or something, I want to be able to step back in that moment and not be focused on whatever the problem is, and be focused on the fact that I love this person, and have that, you know, infect my judgment in the conflict.
Right.
Infect is a weird word to say there, but you know what I mean.
Influence.
Imbue might be a more positive connotation there. And same with, you know, being in the outdoors. You know, when I was sitting on the edge of that crevasse, I managed to be calm and get my phone, my GPS phone, into a pocket on my person.
Yeah.
Right. And so like those two moments are very different, but they're kind of, they sort of live and breathe what I think of as like moments where I was enlightened, right? Where I was able to separate myself from the situation. I didn't let the wave crash upon the rock and break the cliff face off.
Right.
No, I was the rock, and I was sitting there with all this chaos going around, and I was able to make clear-headed decisions. And I think that those moments are that like emblematic of what I think of as enlightenment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does. That's yeah, I mean, I like that. The path to enlightenment. It reminds me, I was talking to Jelly Roll when we were running the other day, and he's 41 and just kind of getting into the running, losing, you know, weight and doing everything that he's doing positive. And, you know, somebody might say like, you know, wasted all the way to 41 years old before you figured this out, right? Before you figured out how to exercise and diet and bow hunting and all the stuff he's doing now. But what I told him, I said, you're on the path now. Some people, they're over here their whole life. They're never even close to the path.
Yeah.
Some people have been on the path for a long time. Some people might get on it after you and pass you, but you're on the path going the right way.
Yeah.
That's a win. And we just keep going. We just stay on the path. So to me, it's like you'll never reach that true place of enlightenment, but you're getting closer to it.
Yeah.
And as you do get closer, you're growing, you're evolving, you're becoming more of what you seek to become. And that's, I think that for men especially, that calm and chaos, that is the key. That is what our community, our society, our family needs. They need somebody to be, hey, when everything's going to shit, who's the guy everybody looks to?
Yeah.
That's who we want to be. When they need somebody to have the answers or be the strength or be just somebody to help them, that's who we want to be.
Yeah. And if you think about it, when we used to live in tribes, like you needed that person or your family might die.
Right.
You know, like you talk about living with consequences. It's like when we live in relatively affluent places removed from consequences, it becomes easy to fall off the path because it's not necessary to be on the path for physical survival.
Right. Yeah, no, I like that. So when you think of ultra running and, you know, you're, I mean, very talented, but like who inspires you in ultra running, or has anybody been like, I want to be like that, but my own way or better or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, what inspired me originally to get into the Triple Crown was hearing about Mike McKnight break the record in 2019. So I knew right away that I was like, and I knew from being a kid, you know, you play like touch football at lunch, and I was like, I'm not fast.
Yeah.
So, you know, you know what I mean when you're a kid and you're like, oh, that guy, he's fast.
Yeah, fast.
I'm not catching up to that guy, right?
Yeah.
There's no amount of work I'm going to do that's going to get me to run a 2:02 marathon. You know what I mean? Or a 12-hour Javelina or a 14-hour Western States. So like remove all of that from the possibility. What does Mike McKnight have? And you kind of said it earlier, like I think what's beautiful about the 200s is that normal people who don't have tons of the natural gifts of being a lean, lithe, you know, gazelle-like runner, you know, can succeed at 200s.
Yeah.
And so that's what really drew me to it. And I was like, okay, what do I have that's a strength? I've got the mental piece. I think I've had that from the very beginning. And I have the fortitude to just keep going.
Well, so you say the mental piece though, but did you have that even when you were DNFing?
Yeah.
And you had it and your body just wasn't cooperating, but you knew that was your strength.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The mental piece has never been a question.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. And so seeing Mike McKnight have success at the 200s and him having the story that he has of, you know, not feeling athletic, being overweight, having, you know, breaking his spine in a skiing accident, like all of that, I was like, okay, here's another normal guy who's succeeding in pushing the limits that no one really thought was possible, right? And so he was the inspiration for me to get into 200s. But I mean, talk about who I find inspiring. There's like too many people to name in the sport of ultra running. You know, like it just really is. That's the thing I love about it is there's not really many people who are doing this that are boring.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's got a story. And so, you know, I've been inspired by you. I've been inspired by David Goggins. I am inspired by Rachel Entrekin. You know, she's pushing the boundaries. I'm inspired by someone like Kilian Jornet, but in this way that I find him to be like an alien, you know, where like what certain people do, it seems attainable, you know, what he does not.
Yeah,
and so
no, he's a freak.
Using him for inspiration is kind of weird because I'm like, well, okay, like, excellent. I'm never going to be there. You know what I mean?
It'd be like a young basketball player watching Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Kind of. And it's like, it makes you want to play and love it, but you know that's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, but he's also older than you. Who knows where the future holds for you, really.
Totally. And like, you can have different strengths. You know? It's not that you don't have to value them differently, but you do. I do think you have to be honest with yourself about like you have to play to your strengths to a degree, right? Like what does seem attainable, and like, you know, like I said, does like a 14-hour Western States seem attainable? Like I don't think so. So it's like I want to focus on the things that both scare me, but also seem like they're potentially in my wheelhouse. Yeah, you know, longer stuff, FKTs, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and so 200s obviously are right in your wheelhouse. Do you think that longer efforts would even lean into more of your strength?
Yeah, I think so. I have no proof for that yet. But I mean, I wrote something on my Substack earlier this year called Delusional Self-Belief. So I've got a lot of self-belief.
Hey, it all starts there.
Yeah, exactly. But I do see my career trending towards that. So what I would really like to do, and I've got like a few ideas of just pie in the sky things. Like how cool would it be to 3 consecutive years set the AT, FKT, the CDT, and then the PCT. Like have all 3 of them at the same time. You know,
what's the middle one?
The Continental Divide Trail.
Is that so? That'd be Montana then.
Yeah, it starts in Montana, ends in Mexico.
Okay, gotcha.
Basically goes down the Rockies.
Oh yeah, so the AT all the way. Yeah, I mean that hit all of them.
Right.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, so you're like 3 years in a row, do all of those. And so I have these ideas of just these kind of like big grand things I'd like to do. And what's nice about this space is that I don't need to do that right now.
Yeah.
Like I think that it's totally possible to set those types of FKTs when I'm in my 40s.
For sure.
So, you know, I'm 30. I'm focused on races right now, potentially the Colorado Trail FKT next year. And so there's lots of options, but it's the adventure that calls me. And so do I see myself doing the Triple Crown again? Probably not. Like been there, I've done it, I loved it, and now we're moving on, right? Like it would take a lot to get me to go back to do something again. I mean, I'm going back to Cocodona because I've never had the race there that I know that I can have. You know? but I don't foresee myself doing a lot of repeat things. You know, there's a lot to do in this world. There's a long trail that runs the entire length of Chile and Argentina, basically, like through those mountains. Imagine setting the FKT on that. You know? What is it? Who knows? How established is it? Who knows? But like, there's so many experiences to be had. Like, I'm not going to limit it to, you know, what we think of as like the main races.
What is a limiting factor on those? Do you think, is it sponsorships and funding to be able to make those dreams realistic? And then tell me, so you said you're inspired by a lot of people in ultra. What I've noticed in ultra is a lot of people are kind of like, I mean, they train alone, by themselves out there all the time. We're kind of used to not talking a lot, like kind of in our own thing. That doesn't make for characters for a movie or documentary, you need personality, you know, and we're like inherently, because we train all the time, we're just like kind of in our own head. So we're not great at like conveying entertaining messages, but you seem like unique in that way. I mean, like I said, I like your bright glasses, the hair's great, you speak well, and you have the performances. So it feels like you're set up for a great future. How do you get the sponsors, and how do you get that people to believe in what you can do?
So I think, you know, this is the ultimate answer to that question is I don't know. But here's my theory of the case here. I think, you know, part of it is the social media side of things. So being able to create your own hype around stuff is going to be huge. You know, I'm working with First Form. They've been incredibly supportive. They basically told me, like, do what you want to do next year, and we'll try to make it happen, right? So FKTs, you know, you talk to shoe companies, they're not super stoked about FKTs. They're like, we want to see our shoes on podiums, right? So how do you make that worthwhile for companies to invest in? I think part of it is, you know, I said I'm not in a rush to get into those long trails necessarily. It's like I need to build a profile for myself of, okay, when he says he can do something, that it's likely to happen, right? So I have no doubt that I'm going to fail at things probably in the next 2 years, you know, right? Hopefully nothing this upcoming year, but who knows, you know? If I DNF at Cocodona at 150, you'll know why, and it's because I can't breathe. But hopefully that doesn't happen. You know, so I think part of it is just like having, you know, before this year, you looked at my results page on Ultra Sign Up, you're like, wow, this guy friggin' DNFs everything, right? Oh, he had a good race at this 100 in Arizona Mogollon, you know, like, okay, cool. What does that mean? Nothing, right? So I think part of it is just having the results to speak for themselves, to be like, hey, here's when I say that I'm going to do something, it's, you know, likely to happen. Yeah. And then, you know, I think that I'm not particularly talented at like the objective self-promotion, but I do think, and I really like podcasts. I like the long form content, and what I'm working with First Form, you know, is some episodic storytelling going into Cocodona. And I think that will play to my strength as to what I'm effective at, you know, conveying reasonably like longer messages than things that typically are on social media. And, you know, I think my Substack is a good forum for me. I love to write. I think I'm a pretty decent writer. So this is a long-winded way of saying I don't know, but I think there's lots of paths to get there. And really what it all comes down to is like your whole thing of keep hammering. You know, like you just have to keep putting in the work. Yeah. And if you put in the work, you believe in yourself, the rest will come. And so just like I kind of talked about being process oriented with a race, with specific races, rather than outcome oriented, I think what's going to get me to the point where I might be able to say to a company, like, send me to Chile and have me run this long trail, is being process oriented and not thinking about like, how do I get to this thing? Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you say like shoe companies care about podiums, but you know what they all care about? Attention. Yeah. I mean, if people are paying attention to you, that's all they care about. Yeah. I mean, so whether you do that by getting on the podium or by setting FKTs or by just being a great storyteller or by just great performances, if people care, then your sponsors care for sure. And it's like, I think you do a great job. It's, you know, being an ultra runner, being on social media is hard for a guy anyway. It's like girls have a huge advantage, but being an ultra runner is like a niche thing. But you're ascending so fast, with the followers, and it's not like a space where people have tons of followers generally. So you're doing a great job. But I think that, your personality shines. Your performances, of course, are the key. But it's just storytelling and coming up with giving reasons for people to care.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate all of that. And thanks for, giving me a platform to further tell the story, And I really hope that, the documentary Forged in Failure, when that comes out, I hope that can play a role in, lifting up both me and the people around me. And part of it, that's part of what's so rewarding about being in the position that I'm in now is that I can, help the people who've helped get me here. Right. Mm-hmm. My coaching company that I work for, Everyday Ultra, I was able to quit both my jobs before I even got a sponsor because I'm coaching for Joe Corcione and his company. Right. He's a sponsor of the documentary Everyday Ultra is, my sock company, Creepers, they believed in me when I was failing, and now I'm not. And so they made a good investment. Same with Ultraspire. And then, First Form obviously came on this year, and I hope that I can repay their belief in me for the future. But then more than the companies, my wife has been supporting my lifestyle for 7 years. I've got a master's degree and I haven't had a real job for 7 years, and never once did she say to me, you need to get a real job.
That's amazing.
And so her believing in this crazy, there's not that many people making money in ultras, and her believing that it could possibly happen is the only reason I'm able to be here talking with you, and being able to, we've talked a lot about it, and she would never phrase it like this, as a sacrifice, but objectively speaking, being able to pay back her sacrifice for me is the most rewarding experience I've ever had in my life. She made a good investment with time, and loving me and believing in me, and that is just, it's hard to put into words how meaningful that is.
Yeah. Did you ever have doubts that you could make it?
Oh yeah.
and how'd you get past that?
All the doubts.
Because I think self-doubt sabotages many dreams.
Yeah. I mean, when I DNF'd the 2 races in a row, how could you not have doubts? Mm-hmm. I'm just okay, I know I have the mental piece. So I'd never doubted that I could mentally push through something. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I'm what if my body doesn't hold up? Right. I've always had this paranoia that I'm pigeon-toed, my toes go in. I'm what if this is the end of my running career? Mm-hmm. Because I have this weird thing, right? What if my body just isn't made to run 200 milers? How do you push through those doubts? Delusional self-belief is the answer. You might not have any evidence, but you just keep working. That's the only answer. The only way to rebuild confidence after losing confidence is to rebuild it brick by brick, one step at a time, literally. And that's what you have to do. Otherwise what's going to happen when, if you get in a car accident and someone T-bones you and you break your leg, they might pay for your surgery, but you've got to do the physical therapy. Yeah. Right. There's no getting around putting that work in. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't have a great answer other than just get back to work for how to push through doubts, because it's the only thing that gets you there.
Well, I mean, I have product that says nobody cares, work harder.
Exactly.
And it's you lose your job, you get a promotion, you win this race, you lose this race, you lose a sponsorship, you get nobody cares. No. Get back to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's success, failure, doesn't matter. The key is work, unless you're done. That's the end of your life. But other than that, there's no substitute for just grinding.
No, there isn't a cheat code. No. And there, you can get lucky in life, and you can get, but can you really get lucky in ultras? There's a lot of variables that you can be lucky with, weather, whatever. Right.
Right.
But no one's getting anywhere because of luck. No one's finishing a 200, let alone winning a 200, having been just going to sign up for this thing.
Yeah, no, it's very intentional.
It's not the way that it works.
No, no. And that's what I love about it too. So tell me about how has, you said you're coaching for Everyday Ultra, Joe Corcione. Tell me how that partnership, or how was he coaching you or?
No, so I've never actually had a coach.
Okay.
I like the puzzle. So that's one of the reasons I like being a coach is I'm making the puzzle for other people, right? Or helping them make
and
their
you
own
were
puzzle.
talking to Truett on the phone today. I talked to my son Truett, and you were giving him kind of coaching advice or like listening to what he's doing and chiming in. It's like, I like that.
I mean, I wasn't necessarily trying to give him advice. I wouldn't say
I want
that,
you to, because we don't know shit.
I wouldn't say that road marathons are where I've got all my knowledge, but I mean, the coaching side of things, I think everyone who coaches will say this. If they're a good coach, it makes you a better athlete, you know, because you get to see how other people are successful, your athletes you're working with, and you get to be inspired by them, you know, for one. And like, I think one of the reasons I'm at least a pretty good coach, I like to think, is that I went through all the struggle, right? Like, you know, you think about any of the traditional sports, it's rarely the best players who make the best coaches.
Right.
Because is Michael Jordan going to be able to talk to some new NBA player and be like, this is how I did it? Like, I don't think he's thinking about how he does it because he's too busy being really amazing. Right.
Yeah.
But some guy who's really good or even average for a professional player is probably going to be way better at explaining how he got there. Right. And so I think having the story that I have of failing a bunch of times and coming up with all these ways to overcome mentally and physically allows me to translate that well to the people I work with, because a lot of the things they deal with, I've dealt with, you know? So that's one of the positive things going in my favor there. And then, I mean, what Joe is building with Everyday Ultra is just, I think, a beautiful thing for the community. Like, he is really focused on the community side of the company. So, you know, you're signing up for a coach, but we also have, you know, group calls. He is hosting an entire Everyday Ultra Cocodona training camp. You know, fly to Phoenix. The training camp is free. We're going to go on all these runs together. You're going to meet people who are interested in the same things you're interested in, right? And so what he's got going on and being a part of the growth there is super rewarding, because I want to see the community thrive. Like, not just the Everyday Ultra community, but the ultra community as a whole, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think that, you know, at some point, you're probably going to be able to get an AI coach who can give you a good plan. But are you going to be able to get an AI coach who can help you with, who can tell you what happens on the second night and what to say to yourself to keep moving? Yeah. Like, that to me seems like it requires a human. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so when
AI isn't going to set up a group run in Cocodona.
Yeah, exactly. So it's nice to be able to be a part of something that's bigger than yourself within the sport itself, because I'm so enthusiastic about the ultra world as a whole. And so, you know, I've never been the best at social media. I think I'm getting better. Yeah. But Joe's amazing at it. Yeah. And so like, one, learning from him and contributing to the project as a whole, it's just like another piece of my life this year that's been like a massive highlight, you know? And like I mentioned earlier, I was able to quit both of my real jobs in August after Bigfoot because I had enough athletes I'm working with. And so at that point I was like, running is my career. Like, I've made it. This has happened for me. That's exciting. Which is just like, I can't thank him enough for that. And just like how absurd is the dream, you know? Like, how many places in the world could I have been born and ended up living where like my job title reads professional trail runner and coach? Yeah.
I mean, here. Yeah. Yeah. Hardly anywhere else. Yeah. It's, I like what Joe's doing too. And I like his energy is just so positive, you know, and he's immersed in it. He's good too. I mean, he's a good runner.
He is a good runner.
But I love what he offers, single track. I like distance to empty, because those guys, you know, Kevin and I don't know what the other host's name is, Peter. Yeah. But I listen to all the ultra podcasts. I love it. I love hearing about people's stories, about the journey, about the successes and the failures. And it's just such a pure sport. It seems like just getting to the mountains and pushing your body is, it's just beautiful, you know? And there's struggle and suffering involved with it too. And that's life.
And what other sport is as supportive as ultra running?
Yeah.
Is there anything like, you know, I always just go back to the example of Carl Meltzer and Scott Jurek. Like, Scott Jurek sets the Appalachian Trail FKT. Literally the next year goes back and helps Carl break his record. Like, there's no road runner doing that. There's no cyclist. There's no, like, there's no sport where that happens.
Yeah, that's
except for the ultra world. And for whatever reason, you know, from the dirtbag origins of ultra running now to when it's becoming semi-professionalized, like that exists still. And I want that to continue, because that's what even people who aren't ultra runners, when they're around the races, that's what everybody notices. It's like, wow,
the community.
These people are supportive of each other. You know, like this year when I'm competing with Brody, like I want him to succeed. First of all, I hope I'm out of the 200s by the time he's back in them.
He's good
because
for
I'm
young.
We're all just gonna get trashed. It's gonna be bad for everyone else. But like, you know, we're both competitors and friends, and those two things coexist. They're actually complementary in some ways in ultra running. Where, you know, I doubt that like professional tennis players are really that friendly with each other. You know, probably most fighters who are fighting each other, not that I can't imagine there's a lot of love there, you know, like soccer players and anything, but it's ultra running where like, if Brody beats me or if someone beats me and I give everything, I'm not upset about it.
No.
I'm just like, dude, you have moved the ball forward. You know, like we're in a collective pursuit to see what humans can do, as opposed to an individual pursuit to see what I can do. That's how I think of it, at least.
Well, it feels like that's exactly how Courtney looks at it too. She's always like so supportive during the races.
Yeah.
I mean, like asking if other competitors need anything. It's like, and she's never seemingly cares about where she places. It's just that she did her best.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what's, I'll be honest, I'm not that great at that. I mean, I'm always like keeping track of, I'm not winning, you know, but I want to.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I guess I want other people to do good as long as they don't beat me. So it's like, I don't know. I'm not that great at it, but I'm also not best in the world, like, you know, like what you are. But I just love the community.
Yeah. Like if you came across, like if you're running Cocodona and you come across someone who you're passing, but they look rough.
Oh yeah.
You're probably going to be like, hey, you
okay?
Do you need anything? Like if you have a water filter or you have like some ibuprofen or, you know, Imodium or something that might help them.
Salt pill.
You might be like, hey, you need something?
Yeah.
Like that is really what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because ultimately it's like, I do want to win, right? Like I'd prefer me to win than anyone else. But it's like at the same time, it's a collective pursuit in a lot of ways.
It reminds me of when I would be deep in the wilderness, like doing some of these hunts. I didn't want to see anybody, but if I did see somebody, I'd be like, they worked their ass off to get back here.
Yeah.
I hate that they're here, but I respect it. And that's how I look at ultras, is like if somebody passes me deep in an ultra, I'm like, props.
Yeah.
Because this hurts. This shit hurts.
You know what you're feeling, and you're like, oh, that person's also just a human.
Yeah. And so I'm down for it, but I just love the purity of it too. And I'm curious. So like we talked about this a little bit, but you're a little bit bigger than like the prototypical ultra runner.
Sure.
Like tell me about, has your approach or your body size or your diet, has it changed over the years? Or has it or not?
It has changed for sure. I mean, when I was in college, I just ate whatever I wanted. You know, it was like, I had like a half gallon of ice cream every day, probably. Like, but I was swimming, you know, and you're young. And so I was just crushing whatever I wanted to eat, you know? And it didn't seem to affect me any differently. Like I wouldn't have noticed if I had a bowl of spaghetti or a steak and vegetables. I'm just like feeling the same would be my thought process back then. After a while, when I got into ultra running, I noticed I was just having some like chronic inflammation issues. And again, because of Mike McKnight and Zach Bitter, actually, I paid Zach for an hour-long consultation to talk about switching to low carb. And he was really helpful. And so in 2021, as a New Year's resolution, actually, I switched to full keto. So cut out carbs entirely for like 3 months. And then I added them back in a little bit for races, but I was still not doing tons. And I was mostly doing real food. So I would like try to eat like homemade rice cakes and stuff while I was like on runs. And then I sort of stayed in that kind of realm where I was probably getting like 40 grams of carbs an hour for a while before this year and doing my faster races last year before shifting my strategy like we talked about earlier. as for the body type, you know, I still feel like I kind of have a swimmer's body, even though I'm not tall, but I've got broader shoulders than a lot of ultra runners. And I do think, you know, having some upper body muscle, like pull-ups, for instance, that translates to using your poles, right?
Yeah.
So there's like some benefits there. There's a vanity aspect to, I want to look good. You know, I don't necessarily want to look like the typical super lean runner. So there's that. But then I also think, you know, being able to lift heavy, you know, if I got squat and deadlift PRs just 2 weeks ago in my off season, and lifetime PRs, actually better than I was in college, which I was very surprised by. I was kind of a pleasant surprise. But I think that is helpful because you're solid, you know. I'm not building tons of muscle. I'm not bodybuilding, you know, and I haven't really gained any weight, but I'm just, I want my body to be durable. Right. And I want it to be durable for the long term. And what's going to do that? It's lifting heavy things ultimately. Like, I think, especially once you reach the age of 30, if you're not lifting, you are missing a big piece of the puzzle for human longevity. Yeah. Right. Like, definitely. So I'm not myopically focused on my ultra running performance, although I think it helps. I'm focused on, I want to be able to, you know, I have this dream of hiking the long trails when I'm 70, going like 10 miles a day, like just chilling, you know, with a hand carved walking stick and just doing whatever I want. Right. And I want to be able to do that. Yeah. Maybe.
Well, looks like you got some work to do there.
Oh, a lot of work.
Well, does part of it go back to the warrior in the garden mindset? Like you want to have endurance and strength. It's like you want to be, because a lot of, say, ultra runners, they're not lifting shit. Yeah. You know, I mean, so they are kind of specialized in endurance essentially, but to be a well-rounded, quote, I guess, man or whatever, does that require strength and endurance?
I think it can. I wouldn't say like Kilian Korth, for instance, like I would call him a well-rounded person. I'm sure he can, you know, when he moves, I'm sure he can lift the couches he needs to lift. Right. For me, I think with what I'm thinking about doing, like what is the number one thing that's going to get you to through the Appalachian Trail FKT? I think it's durability, right? Yeah, and definitely. So that's what I'm attempting to build with the lifting is I'm focused on that aspect. And then like I mentioned, the longevity outside of the sport, you know, but I want to be able to run when like I have this idea that I'd like to run 70 miles on my 70th birthday, you know, like I think that would be cool to be able to do that. Right. Yeah. And so I'm focused, I'm attempting to focus on the long-term health of my body. And I don't really think I'm sacrificing anything in the near term. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I understand that. You mentioned a bunch of goals. Do you write down all these goals? Like, do you journal? Like you said, the 70 miles on your 70th birthday. So do you have these goals written down?
I mean, they're in journals. Yeah.
But not like,
no. They're not like on a wall or a sticky note on my mirror or anything. I do that. I'll you know, I like to publish ahead of time, like my year goals. So like on my Substack, I will go through what my goals are for 2026 at some point, because I'm a big believer in just being honest about your goals. Like don't hedge your bets. Hedging your bets is for wimps. Like that's not cool. It's not, it is. Like if you're trying to win, say you're trying to win, and if you fail, it's okay. Yeah. Right. Like you know who Kamaru Usman is? Right? Yeah. Of course. Yeah. He said something on Rogan one time where when he got KO'd by Leon Edwards, he was like, I'm happy my daughter was there because I want her to see me fail and be okay afterwards. Right. Like, that's the mindset.
That's amazing.
I know. And that he's one of my favorite athletes of all time, because I think he's got the mentality of just like an insane person in a good way, right?
Yeah. Well, but, his rival, Colby. Yeah. He's from here.
Oh, is he? Nice.
Springfield.
Cool.
Went to high school here. That's why I was always like Team Colby. I mean, he just came up.
Their first fight is the best fight I've ever seen.
Brutal, dude.
Yeah.
It was just like, it was a great fight. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, just little Kamaru Usman note.
But yeah, so it's that kind of thing where like I'm just, I know people who hedge their bets, who are like, I don't want to be honest about my goals because I don't want to be embarrassed when I fail. Yeah. And that's not the way to be. No. Like I want to put it all out there. And if
Let the
I don't reach
chips
it
fall where they may.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like we were talking about, like reaching for enlightenment. You know, I'm never gonna get there.
Yeah.
But I'm that's my goal.
That's the goal. It's you know, Truett puts out big goals, and sometimes he comes up short. But we were on that hunt with Jelly Roll the other day, and it was Truett's birthday. And so I was talking to him on the phone, and Jelly Roll came up. He's like, hey, you know, he goes, hey, could I say something? So he just mentioned to Truett, which ties in exactly to this, that he likes that Truett sets these big, audacious goals, because Jelly Roll told a story about there was a time in his career where he could sell out like a $2,000 to $4,000 venue, and it would be sold out. Jelly Roll sold out. But he had to make a decision. Should he go for those venues or the next venue up, which is, say, an 8,000 to 12,000 seat venue? And he probably wouldn't sell it out, but he could. And would it be better to sell 8,000 at a 12,000 seat venue, or sell out the smaller 2,000 to 4,000 seat venue? And he said, let's go big.
Yeah.
Because we got to go big. And if we don't get it, that's okay, because we will get it at some point. And he thought that that was a better option than just the safer bet, hedging your bet. As you said, like, you want to win, but you're not going to say it, because then you look bad if you don't, or you look whatever. So that was like a perfect illustration of that mindset. And now Jelly Roll can sell at a stadium. Yeah. You know, so would that have happened? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe he wouldn't have worked quite as hard, because he had already hit his mark. You know, he'd already sold out. He's already like selling out these shows. So that makes sense to me perfectly. Totally. I love it too.
I've got a few things I say along that line to myself. And one of First Form's mottos is never settle. And I love that. Like, never settle. Well, you do better, you know, keep working, keep hammering. Right.
I love it.
And another one that I say to myself along a similar lines is no limits. Like, all these limits you're going to set for yourself are arbitrary.
They are.
When I was going into Bigfoot this year, I was aiming for 48 hours. Right. And I finished in 45. And if you had told me beforehand that I was going to finish in 45, I would have been
45?
Yeah.
At Bigfoot?
Yeah.
How? That is crazy.
I mean, it was 7 miles shorter than the original course, but still, it was 3 hours faster than what I thought was possible. Yeah. And so after that, I'm like, what am I doing setting limits here?
Right.
Like, this is so stupid. Like, no limits, you know? That's like my sign off on my Instagram post now, is no limits, because
love it.
You just, like that Jelly Roll story, you know, if he had limited himself, maybe he's not where he is today. Yeah. You know, and if it doesn't scare you, is it really worth doing? Right. Right. Like, your goals should scare you. Yeah. It should feel barely attainable. And that's the sweet spot.
And, you know, even if you're not saying it, you can't lie to yourself. Yeah. So if you want to win, but you're not saying you want to win, do you really want to win? Or are you just kind of lying to yourself? Or it's like, are you not being honest with yourself? Which he had another great example about this, where he had, you know, he told his family he was going to go on a run, but then it was raining. Then he was maybe not going to go on a run. And he's like, they had no reason to believe in me, because I'd been lying to myself about I was going to start running or doing this the whole time. And he just had to go out and do it in the run. And then he came back from that run, and they were all outside clapping for him. And he never actually even really ran. He's just walking. But it was, point is, you can't lie to yourself. Yeah. Right. And you might say this, but the people who believe in you, they know that you're not even really being honest. So the true, as we talk about this path to enlightenment, to be on the path, you have to be brutally honest.
100%. You need to be your harshest critic. Yeah. Someone shouldn't be able to criticize you in a way that is surprising. Ultimately, when my wife says something to me and trying to make me a better person, even if my initial reaction is to be defensive, the likelihood is I've had that thought first. Right. Right. And I'm just ignoring that little freaking boil in my mind that is like poking me, you know? Yeah. And she might point it out, and that might be the step I need to make whatever improvement that is. Right.
And I think some people get triggered by that, because they've had that thought themselves. And now it's just like, oh, you saw that too? Yeah. And now you're pissed.
Yeah. And when you're defensive, it's like, you're being defensive from a place of insecurity. Yeah. Right.
It's true. It's
I tell my athletes to hold themselves accountable to their goals. So like, that's one of the things I say to them in our last call before a race. Okay. Is I'm like, you know, you're going to get to a point where you don't want to run. You're going to get to the point where you want to stop if you're pushing hard enough, right?
Yeah.
And in that moment, you need to think about what you wanted to do 3 months ago. Think about what you've done for those 3 months, and then hold yourself accountable to that work you put in. Because if you don't hold yourself to the standard, no one's doing it for you.
Right.
You know, it's only coming internally. There's like, I always tell them too, I'm like, I can't motivate you.
Yeah.
I will not even try to motivate you because that's impossible. Intrinsic motivation is the only way to finish these things, is the only way to succeed at life, you know? And so you have to be the one pulling the strings here. There's no one can force you to take the next step.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's true. Tell me about the quote on your arm.
Sure. The road to nowhere is long. It's from a song by this band Ghost.
We use their music today for our reel.
Yeah. My favorite current artist for sure. This whole sleeve is a Triple Crown commemorative sleeve.
Okay.
Yeah, that I made a deal with my wife at the beginning of the year I could get if I won. But what the road to nowhere is long means to me is like Michael Jordan had this quote where he was like, you're only successful at the moment of greatness. So he wins the NBA championship. He's happy that night.
Yeah.
The next day he's unsatisfied.
Right.
Because he's not where he wants to be anymore. And I think Michael Jordan may not be the best example of being the perfect mentally stable individual. You know, you watch The Last Dance, it's like the best sports documentary of all time, but you're not like, oh, that guy is stable. You know what I mean?
But he's a winner.
Exactly. And so I want a piece of that. I want a slice of that pie where I don't think that the path to enlightenment, I don't think that the path to being successful in ultra running, I don't think that the path to being a better human ever ends. So the road to nowhere is long embodies that for me. Where like, what am I trying to get to? And I don't have the answer there.
Right.
You know, I don't have an idea of what does finishing mean? You know, like finishing Moab is sure I'm finishing the Triple Crown, but I'm going to want to do another race.
It's not over.
I'm going to want another
You're not
adventure.
done. You're not retired.
Yeah. And even when you retire, are you done becoming a better person?
No.
I hope not. Right. Like I don't ever want to be. I want to have kids this year, you know, that'll be a new adventure, and that road's hopefully that journey never ends, you know, no one wants that. And so like that quote is meaningful to me for so many reasons, not only because it's, you know, art that I love, music that I love, but it's just, I think it really embodies everything about who I want to be as a person, you know, continuously attempting to improve, continuously attempting to strive to be a part of something greater than myself.
Yeah. Just a constant evolution.
Yeah.
I love that. So James probably has some stupid questions to ask, but don't focus on the stupidity of what he's going to say, because we can pull back the onion a little bit and get to real shit. What do you got?
Yeah, this one will really help you get to some real shit.
Pull back the onion.
I'm excited.
What is that? I think it's peel up.
That's Shrek.
Yeah,
Or
that's
pull
what I
back
thought too.
pull back the curtain, or peel the.
Ogres have layers.
What am I talking about with onions?
That people are onions. You got to peel them back
Exactly.
one layer at a time.
And then you gotta.
Cakes have layers.
Then you gotta jerk them off.
Okay.
Yeah, I have nipples. Greg, can you milk me? I don't even know what that was from. That was from.
I don't think anybody knows what that's from.
No, it was Robert De Niro in. What is it about the getting married?
The wedding crash?
Oh, Meet the Fockers.
Meet the Fockers.
Yeah,
That's what it was. That's what it was. Remember, because like the cat Jinxie had nipples. I don't even know, but let's just get to the question.
Okay.
That's a good movie.
So we do a little segment on here, and it's called Marry Kill. Have you played the game?
I've played the game.
All right. So
We've
you're
had trouble with people understanding this, but I think he's going to get it.
Wow, I got it.
Yeah.
We're here.
your Marry Kill is the Triple Crown: Moab, Tahoe, and Bigfoot.
I'm gonna kill Tahoe. That's an easy one. Marry Bigfoot. I'll Moab. Yeah.
I love it. You said it so good.
Yeah,
too. It's
Tahoe
like
is
everybody's
easy.
usually like, oh, The other one, Moab. So you loved Bigfoot.
Bigfoot is my favorite race.
I thought that was the hardest 200.
It's gnarly, but it's so different from what I'm used to. You know, like Colorado forest is just garbage in terms of the trees. I love Colorado. You know? Don't get me wrong, the San Juans are my favorite place, but Bigfoot, it's like, dude, you get out of the trees and there are volcanoes around you. You know, you're like at 5,000 feet and then there's a volcano that's at 14,000. Like, holy shit, that mountain is so big. So Bigfoot, I just think it's the most adventurous of all of them. Tahoe, you get that Tahoe long bullshit. I hate it. If I could avoid that, I might feel differently. But Tahoe, I have no desire to ever do again. And then Moab, I said I'd Moab. I mean, I think I it up pretty good.
I love it. Yeah, it's Bigfoot I thought was hard, especially like I was so dehydrated going around Mount St. Helens at the beginning out in that boulder field and all that
just
shit.
Like sunny, dry.
Oh my God, that put me in a hole.
Yeah. That's hard if you get dehydrated.
I was running good. I was leading there all the way to wherever that aid station was up on the ridge, and then just was so dry.
We ended up we crossed. So we actually skipped Windy Ridge, that first aid station this year, because there's a road out. So that's why I was 7 miles shorter.
Oh, I see.
But I was running with a few people at the time, and we all stopped at this like tiny little stream to filter water. And we were like, oh, thank God. Because you know who Wes Rittner is?
Yeah, I know the
he's
name.
done a bunch of these 200s. He might have the most 200-mile finishes in North America, but I'm running with him, and he's like, we're talking about the course, and I was like, Wes, are we going to cross water? He's running a 25-mile section, right? And I was like, are we? And he's like, I'm not sure.
And that would, I mean, that's a long way with no water.
A long ways,
God. And it just gets you in a hole. It took me a whole day to get out of.
Totally.
Because you're still running.
Yeah.
You still have to, so you're still burning
can't
fluid.
Stop.
No, you can't stop. It's like it took me a day. Then by the time at the end, I was actually running good. What else you got?
Okay, this is a controversial take I've had, but since you're an ultra runner, I have previously said that a 50K shouldn't count as an ultra. What do you think?
Mostly agree. It depends on the 50K. There's a 50K around Silverton that has like a tiny finishing rate because it's like mostly off trail and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that is an ultra, right? But man, when someone who has run 150K starts being like, I'm an ultra runner, am I like, I'm like, you've done something cool. I'm proud of you for reaching that milestone in your life. Would I call myself an ultra runner after doing a 50K? If I was 22, probably yes. If I was 25, probably no.
I know I did after I did one, but here's what's weird to me is a 50K is an ultra and the monster 300's an ultra.
Yeah.
How are they both the same thing? What are you talking about?
I know.
We're talking like 10 times more.
Yeah. You're talking potentially under 3 hours for a 50K for someone fast. And then 3 days.
It's like, how are those both ultras?
Yeah. So we need a different name.
That seems crazy to me.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to counting a 50K as an ultra because I know I definitely did my first ones, but then the other one should be something else.
Yeah, megas. I don't know what's bigger than an ultra.
I don't know, but it needs to be something.
Yeah,
something.
Good. I'm getting some support finally.
I know.
I got a lot of hate for that shit.
Yeah, he did get hate because he's struggled through 250Ks. So like 7-hour finishes and. Yeah, so he's really not the one to say, "Oh, this shouldn't count."
Well, basically, if I can finish it, it shouldn't count as an ultramarathon.
No, it was a self-depreciation. That's what getting people. He's so used to talking shit about himself. That's all he's doing with that.
Yeah,
and people.
I mean, I'm happy for some self-deprecation for sure, but yeah, they're different things.
Yeah.
You're right about that.
It feels like a different sport.
Yeah.
Like those multi-day.
You're not carrying a pack for a 50K.
Well, and also
some of us are.
I mean, he would be to finish.
Yeah, but so you're not carrying 3 liters of water.
Some of us are.
Yeah, it's just, and I think also there's a huge difference between one night and multi-night.
Totally.
I mean,
always
those are night and day different.
When people are
No
at
pun
like, what's the
intended.
second night like? I'm like, you need to get there because I can't
Yeah.
describe it to you. It's so
One
different.
night is like nothing. Like
Yeah.
Leadville this year, I'm just like, I had a shitty day, but
whatever.
one night, it's like, who cares?
Yeah, yeah.
The multi-night,
Yeah.
God, that gets brutal.
I know. And then when you start counting the sunrises you've
Yeah.
seen,
Yeah.
you're like, oh God.
I know.
What
I was
is
at Cocodona this year, and I was just like, what night is this? And
Yeah.
it was like night 3, and I'm like, I can't go I can't do no sleep for 3 nights.
No, it's not going to work.
And but it's different. God, it's hard.
Yeah. I mean, and it's also, I was so excited when I ran a 100-miler after focusing on 200s for a while.
Yeah.
For the one night things, they asked me that at the beginning. I was like, I'm going to be done in a day. This is
I know.
amazing. But also, like having 6 and 7 mile sections.
Yeah.
Like, dude.
Yeah.
The average section in Tahoe is 18 miles.
Right.
Right. And so you're talking a minimum. If you're moving really well, you're talking 4 hours.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And when I was
Most
moving,
people aren't.
Most people, right? Yeah. And when I'm moving at the end, when I can't even breathe, you're talking almost 6 hours. And like, damn.
I know. Well,
That's a big difference.
I remember when I did Bigfoot, it was like we were like 130 or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but the section was exposed and it was hot.
Oh, you're talking about Quartz Ridge?
Probably. And it was like 20 miles or something.
Yeah. Was it the one where you start out by the river, you go up,
Yes.
you go down, you go up, you go down,
Yes.
and then that section is 17 miles of 7,500 feet of climbing and 4,500 feet of descending.
That's the one. And
Insane.
I had, so the guys, it wasn't the first year of the race, but the guys who I was with had done it before. And I said, so what are we figuring for this section for time? And they're like, I would just say 2 miles an hour. And I was just like, 2 miles an hour? It's like, holy shit. So if it's 20 miles, you're 10 hours out
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
But it was just under, but that's a long time. So when you're thinking
Totally.
about getting fluid and salt and fuel, it's like 10 hours worth of shit.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and you're carrying all the required gear, so you've got all the stuff in case you freeze. And I mean, yeah, that specific section I think is one of the hardest sections in any race because you lose elevation that you gain for miles, and it's like pretty technical. It's steep, and you just get off the river, go back down to the river, get off. Like if you were in a low for that section, it would suck so bad.
Yeah.
Happily, I wasn't. My pacer was with me, and we were cruising for the section, right? But yowza, that was a beast of a section.
That was brutal. I remember that. I think I did pretty good in there too. But yeah, if you're struggling, that could be the death sentence on that race.
It is my favorite section of that race, though, because I feel like there is a section of each race that just like that's the
Defines.
spirit
Yeah.
of that race, and that's
Yeah.
the one for me. Plus, you pass. I've got the waterfall tattooed on my arm
Yeah.
right here, the Lewis
It's
River
meaningful.
waterfall. Like it is one of the most beautiful spots that I've ever been. It's
Yeah.
like, I love that race so much.
Man, it's legit.
Okay, last question.
Okay.
This is a question I asked to Courtney, but if you could swap minds with any competitor during a race, who do you think you would?
Minds. Interesting. I think going into David Goggins' head, probably for like a minute.
That would be intense.
Yeah, I think
'Cause
that
you'd
would
hate
be
everyone.
I know it'd be pretty interesting. It would be a fascinating little detour. Just be like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah. No, whatever his mind does works perfect for him.
Yeah.
And I don't think people. I love that guy. I mean, the fact that he's put in so many miles. I mean, he's had years. Which, have you read his book?
I've read the first book.
The first book. So, or books, I mean. But I think in that book he talked about like 7,000 mile years.
Crazy.
20 miles a day for the whole year.
Yeah.
And did like 800s, 8 weekends in a row or something like that. So to put on that many miles, and he's 50, and he did 200s this year. And I mean, that's hard.
Yeah, for sure. And just like where he came from.
Yeah.
Even someone who doesn't like David Goggins, like the persona, has to respect the story.
I would think.
You can't not.
He gave me this.
Yeah, that's cool. I noticed that. His would be interesting. I mean, I bet I'm trying to think of someone who I know that would be like way smarter than me. Like if there's someone running who's like a quantum physics kind of guy, I'd like to bop into that mind for a little, just to be like, what are you thinking about, man?
I know. Yeah. I never thought, I don't even know. I wonder what Courtney's mind would be like. Probably just be like, this is so awesome. I love everyone. And me, I'm just like, I hate everyone. I wish I was dead.
Yeah, I know. So I have moments in every single race where I'm like, what the doing? Like I chose to do this. I paid thousands of dollars to be here.
Yeah.
Typically it happens in the second night. The first night I'm like, this is amazing. Look how cool you are. You're running so good.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, this is the best. You're running through the night. What a badass. And by the second night, I'm like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever done.
I'm like, can I make up an injury?
Yeah.
What could I say happened to me?
I know. Like I have that thought. And I asked Rachel Endricken if she has those. And she's like, no, not really. And I was like, God, kudos.
Dang it. That's a little depressing because I was hoping you were going to say, yeah, I do. But
no, she said that. And then she also said she never chafes. And I was like, that.
And she also wins every race.
Superpower.
Yeah. How does she? How many races has she won in a row?
I think it's like 21 at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe 22. Rachel, sorry if I got that wrong.
Yeah. Well, I love her. I've never met her, but she seems like a badass.
Yeah.
So I like badasses.
Whenever you get her on, you guys will have fun.
Yeah. That sounds good to me. Well, dude, I don't know. I mean, this has been a great discussion. I learned a ton about you, and I'm a huge fan. Love all the success you've been having. I know you're going to have even more. And it's like I said, it's an honor to get you on here and talk to you about your 200-mile domination. Can't wait to see the rest.
Well, thanks. I mean, I've had a few moments throughout the day where I've been like, I'm running with Cameron Haynes.
Well,
so I really appreciate being here and the hospitality and everything. And thanks for giving the platform to the trailer and everything.
Oh, I'm sure it's gonna be a great documentary.
Yeah,
trailer looks great. I'm addicted to good ultra running films, so I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a good one. I have confidence there. But yeah, thanks for everything. Thanks for everything you've done for the sport. Like, I mean, just as far as I've had this conversation with people, I'm like, who has done the most for the sport? I mean, you, David Goggins, Courtney, Killian. You know, it's like easy answers. So just appreciate everything you do for, you know, runners who are putting in the work. I know you respect the grind, so it's awesome that you you know, both walk the walk and lift up others while you do so.
Oh, thank you. Well, I know people are going to enjoy this discussion, and so I want you to blow up. Let's keep it going. Keep hammering, guys. Thank you, Killian.
It's just the beginning.
All right. Love it.
Someone to blame. They sent their hate. It fuels my pace. I am Roy Tough. I am the change, the fuel in dirt. Feeling like